What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host, Chad Medved. Welcome back if you are a returning listener. Welcome if you are a brand new listener, and thanks for giving me a shot. We are currently in a coronavirus quarantine. I haven't left my house in days. I'm a homebody, so I don't hate it. It's definitely getting annoying that I can't just run to the grocery store without worrying about some sicko coughing on me and getting all freaked out. But, I mean, what could you do? We got to make the best of what we got. First thing is first. Shout out to Turner's Premium Iced Tea. We're still riding together. You already know that. Turner's Premium Tea turns 90 this year. 90 years old. All right? If you think about that, it's pretty crazy. That's like, that's 90 years old. That's insane. But so they are doing the new limited edition milk, and they are doing birthday cake. Birthday cake flavored milk will be hitting your stores April 2nd, and it's an awesome blue color. Kind of looks like that Star Wars blue milk. But yeah, April 2nd, it'll be in your stores. Be cautious going to get it. I know people are going to be diving over places to go find it, but be cautious. Wash your hands, wash your ass. And I mean, we all have to be smarter about this. I talked about this last week. This whole coronavirus thing, if people don't start to listen to this, we are going to be locked in our houses for longer than we need to. And for the people that are listening that think that this is nothing, you're assholes. I don't mean to be forward, but you guys are fools. It's obviously something. We have to be aware of this. We have to take some initiative to stay in the house. I know no one wants to stay in their house. I get it. Do you think everyone wants to just sit in their house all day, every day? Nope. But we have to take some initiative, and we have to kind of, flatten the curve. And I don't care how political you are or how political you get, but, I'm just trying to make people aware. I mean, the longer that we're all out there jacking around, touching each other, we're gonna be sitting in this house even longer. We can't even get through a week without people freaking out. I mean, can you really think of that? It's like whenever we're all busy and we have shit to do, people are like, damn, I'm going to take a day off and just sit on the couch. Now people, have some time off. They're all they're all stir crazy. My wife has been in the house for over 2 weeks. She has been working from home. Her company sent her home, and she's been working in the house for 2 weeks, and, she's getting a little bit crazy. She's starting to, walk around wearing a flannel with some boots on, carrying an axe, throwing a tennis ball against the wall, and I keep having to check behind my shoulders to make sure she's not carrying a bat or nothing. But who knows? It's nice to be home with her. It's nice to be able to wake up and be there. If you don't know, I mean, I got laid off. I got laid off. My work is considered non-essential life-saving, or whatever that terminology is. But, my work had to shut down, and we submitted an appeal, literally 10,000 other businesses in the city to try to remain open so I could work, but, they haven't processed it yet. So I've just been enjoying my few days off. I've been relaxing, you've been plotting, been kind of, I cleaned my whole house basically. And, I'm just trying to take a break. I'm just trying to enjoy what's going on around us. I've been staying in, and I've been in the kitchen whipping work. I made some gnocchis yesterday. I made some chocolate chip cookies. I made some banana bread. And, we all have to be fortunate for this time that we have right now. If you're not sick and you're just in your house, try cooking some stuff. I was thinking about it, and it's like, man, I don't really cook too much. My wife usually does a lot of the cooking, but I hopped in the kitchen and I started making gnocchis, and I've just been real interested in cooking good things to eat. It's basically all I've been doing is just sitting in here and eating and watching shit. Which gets to my next point. Tiger King. Come on now. Joe Exotic. A lot of people have watched it by now or started it by now, but Tiger King on Netflix is absolutely the most insane docuseries I've ever seen. It's about this guy who lives in Oklahoma. His name's Joe Exotic. He is basically, he's like a gay cowboy. mixed with like Neil Diamond, and I don't know, he wears like sequin shirts, and he's just like he is a cowboy down there. He's not even really a cowboy. He's just a guy who dresses like a cowboy, and he is like very, very flamboyant, and he's just like very, very, he's a character. I mean, he is a character. He lives on this tiger farm with his husband and like a bunch of these workers, and he has like 200 tigers around, and the show is literally insane. It says in the description, but gets arrested for, a murder for hire plot, but that's the bare minimum of the craziness that goes on in this documentary. I would definitely check it out. Tiger King, 7 episodes. It's like 45 minutes per episode. That's worth it. What else have I watched? It's been real good. I watched Never Been Kissed. Drew Barrymore. Come on, that's a murderer's row of people in that movie. But Never Been Kissed is such a good movie. David Arquette's in there. John C. Reilly. And I forgot that James Franco is in there. Very young James Franco. Never Been Kissed is good though. That's on Disney Plus. What else have we been watching? I watched Rounders. Rounders is a good movie with Edward Norton and Matt Damon. They are basically card guys. They play cards, underground card games, and they're kind of like hustlers, but that's a good movie. There's just been so much good shit to watch, and I've still been diving into all the stuff on Bon Appetit YouTube. The Bon Appetit YouTube is filled with hours and hours and hours of great content. It's Alive by Brad Leone, Gourmet Makes by Claire Saffitz, and basically, this is a channel of awesome people that are funny and fun to watch, creating, good food. And, Gourmet Makes by Claire Saffitz is where she takes, Doritos, Mentos, pizza rolls, bagel bites, Ruffles chips, and like all these like great snack foods, and she reverse engineers them into, a gourmet version of it. So she makes her own Ruffles potato chips. She made her own, Rocher chocolates. She made her own Kit Kats, and like it's pretty cool to see how she kind of reverse engineers it. And then Brad Leone is, he's this 6'7" goofball who is just like he's just a hilarious person, but he has this show called It's Alive, and it's basically him making stuff, but the way that they edit it is hilarious. The way that he talks, his personality is all hilarious, and I've probably ripped through 50 of the videos since I've just been home, but I don't know. It's getting crazy outside. People are dying, and people are getting infected, and it's kind of I'm stuck into this world in my house. We're in a bubble in my house, but outside is kind of bizarre and scary to think about. Like if I look out the window, sometimes I'll forget while I'm sitting on my couch that there's like some crazy shit that's going on outside, but it doesn't pass me by. Like I'm aware of what's going on, and I strongly urge people to, do whatever you can to not be an idiot at this time, and wash your hands, wash your ass. Please do not go places. There's no reason to go places. The only places you should be going right now is a grocery store, a doctor, the pharmacy, or, if you're getting takeout from somewhere. But, be cautious of that even. Streets on Carson, down on East Carson Street, is offering takeout. They have a COVID-19 menu, or technically a COVID-20, I think theirs is called. Just had a little phlegm in my throat. I don't got that Rona. Don't be getting all crazy, but Badamo's Pizza on the north side, Mount Lebanon, they're offering takeout. There's 1,000 places around the city that are offering takeout, and I urge you guys to patronize your favorite restaurants if they are doing that. And this is a crazy time that we're living in right now. There's people that are literally losing their businesses, losing their work, losing money. I lost money. I'm losing money. I'm not getting paid right now. You know what I mean? So it's only temporary for me, hopefully. But as we're in this craziness, It's new, and people are not used to things like this, and it's kind of a scary idea that like no one knows what's going to happen yet so far. But I've just been trying to stay away from the news. I mean, I can't with the news. I can't. It's terrible. And, I don't get political on here. I cannot listen to one more word Donald Trump says. I'm sorry. If you're a Trump supporter, that's fine. But I myself cannot listen to him anymore. And I can't listen to any of them. They're all nut jobs. I saw a video of Joe Biden the other day sniffing little girls. They just have a compilation video of him sniffing, young girls that he's taking pictures with. And it's just like, are you kidding me? Like, what is going on around here? But anyway, the reason that everyone is here this week, I'm sorry that was long-winded, but I had some shit to touch on, like I'm trying to figure out a way to provide more content. I might do a couple solo episodes. If you're interested in hearing me, talk about some bullshit, rant, I'll either record an episode by myself or one with my wife, and I'll probably start putting out a few more things. But anyway, the reason that everyone is here, there is a guy that I spoke with so I spoke with him a few weeks ago. So the reason that the conversation is, light and, not too crazy is because this was all before this virus shit started happening. We had his name is Clayton, actually. I'm sorry. I didn't even say his name, but his name is, Clayton Weekly, and he's basically a online coach and mentor, and he helps office workers and athletes with office jobs combat sitting with mobility training. So basically what he does is he helps athletes with office jobs combat sitting with a monthly mobility training program. And he also offers Kinstretch Mobility, which is a mobility training that focuses on your body in a whole. It provides direction to improve your mobility in your joints to help improve your life. And he's also a business mentor. So he provides online coaching to health and fitness practitioners that focus on goals that they set for themselves to improve anything about their business and their life. And he offers his knowledge on social media, producing content, creativity, and motivation to help succeed and get shit done, basically. I was excited to talk with him because, one of my good friends, Rob, he's one of my best friends. I've been friends with him forever, but he recently has had a change in his life, like his health and wellness and fitness has been, drastically changed in the past year and a half, and I could visually see this, and it's super motivating for someone that's in his mid-30s to just change his life for the better. And it caught my attention, and that's how Clayton was brought to my attention. And I hit him up and I was like, yo, we need to sit down. I would love to talk with you about what you do. And this whole conversation is basically how someone gets involved in being an online coach and mentor. I mean, basically, you're paying someone that is, he's saying, he is claiming that he's a coach and mentor, and like I wanted to talk to someone about like how you could develop your program and how you could get into that and how you could put a price on your the knowledge that you're giving to people. And it was just a super interesting conversation. I really enjoyed talking with him. I went to his in-home studio, and me and him sat on the floor and we talked, and like it was so interesting to hear his point of view about everything, and I had a really great conversation with him. And after, we went to Commonplace Coffee, and we got a Leona's ice cream sandwich, and it was my first one of all time. I've never had a Leona's ice cream sandwich, but I had eggnog ice cream with cinnamon cookies, and it was just absolutely insane. So, without further ado, episode 111 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Clayton Weekly.
I gotta use the telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back. I'll
I'll Call You Right Back podcast. I'm happy that she has a, something to, channel all that extra energy into.
It's like a creative outlet.
Yeah, creative outlet. She, we were just talking about this last night. It's like she, for a while there, she was kind of like lost with what she wanted to do with life. Not necessarily with work, but like, whenever you're not spending 8 hours a day at work, it's like you have all this other time. You're like, what could I do to fill it that's not just, pissing away time watching The Office over and over and over again,
right?
Which is great. I love that. But it's nice that she has something to like build and like, do herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think creating is one of the things, like as humans, it just kind of brings a level of fulfillment that, if people aren't creating, you don't have that sense of purpose as strong, and it's interesting. There's so many ways to create, and if it's just you're pouring your time and your effort and your attention into something that brings you joy, then fuck yeah, that's awesome.
That's what it is too.
Yeah.
It's like we all, the majority of us work a 9 to 5, and like it gets like, it could get like, depressing really. It's like it's easy to fall into a rut and just be complacent with what you're doing, and like some people get lost for 40 years in an office and they don't know where their life went.
You lose your identity.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, I'm working here, I get paid decent, I'm just gonna work here, and that's what it's gonna be. It's like we're gonna work and gonna eventually die,
right.
And I'm not necessarily saying that that's a wrong thing, but that's just not what I choose.
Totally.
It's not what I want to do. And I grew up seeing both ends of it. Like my mother worked like 40 some years, or 30 some, 40 some, whatever. She retired through PNC, but like I see that corporate life.
Yeah.
And like what that is. And, she did very well. She worked her way all the way up to the top, and, she made good money. Like, and, I see the benefits of that and the reality of that. And like, that's fine. That's one way to get to point B. And then my father was like a entrepreneur type, I would say. Like he had his own like, construction type business. So he had like an entrepreneurial vein to him. Always like into like, fixing things and just wrenching. He did a lot of different things. So I saw both ends of it. And I'm just trying to phase out of my corporate life. We were raised to have a security blanket, like my mother wanted me and my brother to be, secure, stable, like, to be able to live happy and not necessarily, be in their house for the rest of their lives. You know what I mean? And me and my brother both did that, but I'm into this point in life where I'm like trying to reevaluate my life and figure out if what I'm doing is genuinely making me happy
totally.
as a human being.
And I think if you can circle back and touch on that, have that touch point every so often. You don't have to make it like systematic where it's like every week I check in or every month I check in, but just like check in with yourself. Like, is this bringing me a level of fulfillment? And if it's not, like shift gears. Like you can constantly reinvent yourself, what you're about, who you are, what you want to do. Like it
doesn't matter how old you are.
Man. Yeah.
People get discouraged about like the journey of it. Mm-hmm. People think it's a task, that it's a crazy undertaking, but you have to think of it as a journey. Mm-hmm. And, if you're all right with like dealing with the, making shit for the first 6 months and only having 10 people listening to it,
right.
If you're all right with that and you could, focus and like channel that, that hard work that you're putting into it and get past that, it's way more fulfilling. And like we were talking about before we were recording, it's like, I'm not someone who's afraid of hard work. I just want to do it. And like, I love the growth of it. And like we were talking about Rob. So people are listening, like my good friend, Rob, he's one of your like, what do you call them? Students?
Yeah. Mentor. Yeah. So it's a mentorship program that I run. So yeah.
And it's just like, seeing his growth over the year, like I've known him for, 15, almost 20 years. And it's like, I seen him from whenever we were young adolescent kids who knew nothing and didn't know what we want in life. And the only thing that mattered was like
skating
music and
skateboarding.
Yeah. Like that was it. That's all we did was go hang out and, just dick around. But, to see his life progress is like it's fantastic for me, because like I look up to him so much, because like he just kind of like took that jump, moved to California completely by himself. And like over the last like 3 years, there's still growth. Like I could still see him growing. Like it's not like it's just an old tree that's just going to be there until someone cuts it down. It's like, he's an adult, he's fully 30 some, and I still see him growing like he's an adolescent kid. And like, that gives me so much like motivation, and it keeps that like fire under me, because like I want to surround myself with people that are like that.
Hell yeah, man. Like 100%. And I too find like I've friends that I've seen who ventured off and like moved to California, moved to Colorado, moved to like, anywhere like away from home base. I'm just like, fuck yeah. Like, awesome. And it's not that like you have to move away to kind of have that kind of growth, but it's just like you're stepping into a space of fear and uncertainty and swirls of doubt,
Exactly, because like there's people that are like, you can do, like we were talking about, you get stuck in that job and it's like it's safe there, like
super safe.
It's like you could do it. It's almost like a monkey could do it. You're brainless. Get up, you do it all without even like thinking about it. But like that's, I don't know. My feeling is like I get like terrified that I'm just gonna be one of them guys that are just there. And it's not that like I'm not taking anything away from that. Like that's a great accomplishment. It's just like for me, I want other things. You know what I mean? Like I just I say it a lot on here, but like I every day I wake up and like I have like a faucet in my head, it feels like, and it's all like rainbow colored water like flowing crazy. And those are all like my creative ideas. Those are all the things, my hopes and dreams. And then I get in my car to go to work, and that water turns into like a gray, like a sludge almost. Yeah, exactly. And like it like scares me to think about that. Yeah, it's like when you were younger, like you grew up in Hershey, you said.
Yeah, Hershey, Harrisburg area.
Now, were you someone that has always had like an idea of what you wanted to do in life?
So yes, and it's funny because it's always morphed, and it's always like I've always known that I wanted to help people.
Yeah,
that's kind of been like the common thread.
Yeah,
and it's changed over the years, but it's been interesting to see how it changed. And looking back, so when I was in high school, like I was tons of sports, so swimming, soccer,
You played all that,
yeah, and I just love movement. I love being active. I love it just brings me a lot of joy. So
since you were young, you've always loved that.
Yeah, and then so I got injured a lot because I move a lot,
Yeah.
And it's just part of the price. But so I was in and out of physical therapy, and I'm like, seems like a cool job. So that was kind of like my idea, my path that I wanted to go to. So all along the way, I hit all these like stumbling blocks. And so when I applied to the undergraduate, like rehab science, I didn't get in, right? And I was like, okay, well, I can still go to PT school, it's fine.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, well, there's this other program, exercise, science. So let me look into that. And I was literally like 3 days late to apply, and they're like, just apply next year. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, a year later.
I was like, oh man, so I got to do another year. And so took that opportunity to kind of take some really cool classes. I took this class, Sensation and Perception, which was like a psych course based on the neurochemistry and neuroscience of like how smell works and like smell receptors and like all these things. So it's just like,
yeah, it's crazy.
Really, really cool stuff. And I took another couple courses. I took a poetry class. I took some like, like on the outside people looking at it like, oh, these BS classes. But I was just like,
yeah, stuff I looked at it as interesting.
Right. Like, and I mean, going back, I talking about like is college a worthy investment? That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But you work with what you got. And anyways, so and then I got into exercise science. I applied to PT schools. I got waitlisted everywhere, and I was just like, fuck.
Why is it like there's just a big wait
the
list,
reason was I did real bad in Chem 2, like real bad.
Yeah.
And I retook Chem 2, still did bad. And so like all my prerequisite classes were just like kind of shoddy.
So it wasn't like.
It wasn't like, I mean, I've worked in a hospital for 4 years as a rehab aide, so I'm working alongside PTs and OTs in patient clinics, like outpatient, like, working with children, working with people with traumatic brain injuries, like, had the experience, had all the good stuff, like had the drive, the passion, but your grades aren't great, in this like one arbitrary class.
Crazy.
Right? So then I was just like, frustrated and like, so you hit this roadblock, and then I was like, well, you know what? I might go get my master's degree because someone within the program was like, you should consider that. So I ended up getting my degree paid for with teaching like classes and, teaching lifeguarding, swimming classes, CPR, first aid, like all this cool stuff that I didn't even know that was an option. So then I went through with my master's, and each time I got roadblocked by, not getting into PT school, I thought about applying again. I was like, you know what? I think I want to do something similar to like what health coaching is.
Yeah.
So I've been working for an insurance company here in Pittsburgh and doing health coaching, and really dug it. And I was just like, cool, like I can help people in a way different capacity than I could with, physical therapy. In that point in time, you have a knee injury, you have a hip injury, insurance will bill you for this stuff, and then you're painted in the corner of like the type of treatment and protocol you can give. So like we can give these types of exercises, we can give these types of treatment modalities, and that's it. If you're an insurance-based practice, which most places are.
Yeah.
So with health coaching, I can help people with managing stress, quitting smoking, losing weight, nutrition, physical activity. And like I'm talking with these people on the phone, so I can like use my personality, like crack a couple dad jokes, even though I'm not a dad, like I'm a dog dad. But, and just like really weave in my personality and help these people in a way that was like, I started to realize much bigger than like in the realm of PT, and not to like, shit on, physical therapy or anything, but it's just like a lot of physical therapists feel that, they're painted in the corner of just like, unless you're a cash-based businesses, which a lot of PTs are kind of going that way, so that they can actually treat people the way that they want to be treated,
instead of being under those constraints.
Exactly. Yeah. So, so more and more people are kind of feeling that, but I feel like in most things in life, you have to spend some time in the dirt getting frustrated with shit. You have to be like, this is wrong. Like,
100%.
This should be different, because then you can appreciate when you walk the other direction and be like, no, like I know I want to go this way and do this thing. So, and it's funny how things circle back, because now like I'm in the space of, so I teach people mobility training. I teach people how to move more effectively.
Yeah.
Whatever they want to do, if they want to run, hike, swim, carry their kids, pick them off the floor, hike a 14er, like run an ultra, like do jujitsu, like whatever you want to do with your body, mobility training is a really good tool to help you learn how to get those prerequisites to do what you want, so that you cannot get injured as easily. So in a way, it's very prehab, rehab focused. And now I can do it in the scope of like almost 90% of my clients come through Instagram. And like,
it's wild.
It's really cool. And you start to realize the potential of it. So like, when I started off, I didn't even have the idea of like being an entrepreneur. It was just like, I actually had a lot of back issues myself, and that's kind of how I got into that space. So I just wanted to figure out my own shit. It's just like, I just want to be out of pain. And
Absolutely.
So then when I finally, like, long story short, but years and years, like mobility training was kind of like the thing that really made sense to me conceptually, and also in my body as well. So, once I put that together and started like see all the crazy changes in my own body, I was like, fuck man, like I gotta share this with other people. Like this is kind of like a crime for me to not share this. And what I thought was like common sense.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people think is common sense, whether you're in this space or like you're audio engineering, or you're an artist, or like you're a photographer, like you think like, oh, well, of course everyone knows this shit, but you're like, no, like, like not everyone knows this stuff. So I just wanted to teach people. And one of the coolest ways to do that is Instagram, social media, like YouTube, like whatever your platform is. And it was crazy. Once I walked through that space, so I created these videos, and I have an online membership. I have a lot of different things you can look up, but the one is a membership. It's $10 a month. And I think the thing that clicked in my brain was when I had like a metalhead in Scotland sign up for it. And it's like, oh, like I love your stuff. This is awesome. And I was just like, no way, and then like someone signed up in Australia, someone signed up in Pittsburgh, someone signed up in like, so it's just like all over the world. And like something in my brain just clicked, and I was just like,
this is going to happen.
Like, this is amazing. Crazy story. So, Jane Black and Gail and Virgie, and then Jane's now fiance, Allie, who's like a pro BMX biker, is awesome.
Who are these people? I don't know who these people are.
Yeah, so these are just like movers and shakers, like in the mobility handstand, rehab space.
Okay.
But anyways, we went on our honeymoon, my wife and I, after we got married. We waited a little bit of time to go, but we went to Portugal and we went to Scotland. And we were in Scotland.
Wow.
We met up with Jane and Gail and Allie, who had been part of my online membership.
Wow.
So we went rock climbing. We had like Greek food, had a beer, and I'm just like, this is amazing. All because this piece of technology in your pocket that we don't really truly understand how it works, but it connects you with just like amazing people all over the world. So it's just like, if you have a healthy relationship with social media and you don't use it to compare yourself to other people, but 100%. Actually like connect with people, it's amazing.
Yeah, if you could disconnect from like comparison with other people, it's like the main thing that you have to think about whenever you look at people's social media is it's just a highlight reel.
Totally.
It's like no one's posting like credit card debt. No one's posting like mortgage. No one's posting shit like that. It's all just like, I went on vacation to Portland, to Seattle, look at this awesome place.
It was lit. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is dope. And like, I feel that, before we get into this, I do an opening segment with all the guests. We're obviously already ball rolling, but what's in your cup? What's in the cup?
Oh, yeah. What's in my cup? So it's I call it the bougie drink. Normally I just drink like black coffee or black coffee, a little bit of cream. But so this is an oat milk latte.
Latte.
Yeah, Commonplace Coffee.
Yeah. This is the first time I was here. I got a Americano, and it's really good. Very tasty. Yeah. They're good at it. Some people, like, I think to myself, like, whenever I was younger, like, I had a very, very, like a crude way of thinking about things. Like, I never was able to, like, go deep into the way I process things. It was kind of just like a surface decision. And the way I think about that is, like, I never really, like, I conformed to a template, like work, this, that, this. But nowadays it's like, I try to like really think about things and process things and think about like the opportunity and the potential that some things have. And like, to see like what you were talking about, social media and like how you could use it and like manipulate it a certain way, depending how it is. It's almost like, it's like some people compare social media and you see this highlight reel of everyone and you see what they're posting and like their mental, like, I guess the moral is sometimes I forget that some people don't have a mentality like mine or like yours. Some people do see the negative. They do see that, like, these people are happy. Like, I'm not happy. I haven't been on vacation. Like, I don't have a relationship. I don't have dogs. Like,
right.
And you start to like pull yourself like under. You start to feel that like people are like built up above you.
Totally.
But it's like, if you could not have that comparison to like everyone else and you can understand that everyone's life is different and like that this is a highlight reel, you could kind of manipulate it however you want to. But I mean, I think that that's like the hardest. I mean, your mental state is your hardest thing to break. I mean, whether it's about diet, whether it's about anything, dedication and consistency is the hardest thing to like the biggest hump to get over.
So something I want to kind of talk about is that, and I help people that I work with who like in my mentorship or in my coaching calls, and it's the main message is create more than you consume.
Yeah.
So if you are consuming, like if you're scrolling, consuming,
yeah,
you're just going to feel shittier and shittier and shittier. Like if you wake up first thing in the morning and you're scrolling to wake yourself up in the morning, you're already comparing yourself to that person's dog, to that person's trip, to that person's experience. Whereas if you get up and you're like, what can I share today? What type of value can I give out to the world to make it a little bit better? And I think that, I think the word authentic gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
We were talking about this before we started recording, but, it's true. Like if you can be like, less of a bullshitter and more of a real person and kind of show your realness in a cool way, it gives permission for other people to kind of see like how real life actually is and to cut the bullshit. And really, that create more than you consume is important. The other thing is to reshape your environment, right? Like think about it like this, you're the company you keep. So the 5 people you spend the most time with, it's going to impact the type of person, the type of outlook you have.
100%.
Same thing with like what you see on your social media feed. So if you see someone and they're constantly posting trips that they've gone on and you're like, man, I feel like shit. Man, I never travel. Man, this, unfollow that person. Like just like, it's nothing personal. You can still be friends with them, but just unfollow them.
Man, I do it so much now.
Purge it.
It's like I'm at to the point in life where like I got to you know, like if I'm just not interested in it, I'm not interested in it. And it's like no like disrespect or like anything like that. It's just like if I'm not interested, I'm not interested. But I think it's so interesting that like like the mental capacity of people and like, you know, where people find inspiration and where people find, you know, guidance and like how people use that guidance and implement it into their lives. Because like everyone could say like, you know, I'm about to be on a diet, like I'm going to do this diet, but if you're not like consistent with it, you know, it don't mean shit. It's like you're going to do it for a couple days, and it's like a lot of people just want to do things now and say they're doing it, post it, you know, I'm into this, I'm into that.
Look
and
what
like,
I did. Yeah,
look what I did. But it's like realistically, you know, it doesn't mean shit, because like, you know, just because you do it once or twice doesn't mean that like, you know, you're making a change in the trajectory of your life. You're just like, you know, you're just touching on that. But like, I'm curious to know like how, you know, like were you regimented whenever you were younger?
So yes and no. You know, I kind of have this like duality, whereas like I was very kind of goal driven in a lot of ways, but also like just spend time like dreaming. Like I used to, you know how you said you had this like rainbow faucet coming out of your brain all the time. Like I have all these ideas like constantly. And so it's just like, what kind of, and I realized this, before I was doing what I was doing, I used to have an idea. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start this podcast. I'm going to do this. I'm going to, and I used to call myself the idea man, like, cause I would have all these ideas and then I would never do shit with them.
Yeah.
And it pissed me off, because I'm just like, the thing is like when you have this spike of brilliance and a spike of, you know, you have to execute on creating it as soon as you can, because there's a half-life to it. Right. So it's like the longer time that is from the idea and the inception of the idea to like when you actually create it and bring it to life, the longer that time period is, then the less likely that that's actually going to come to, because then you just like, you lose,
it loses its shine.
You lose trust in yourself too. You're just like, oh, I said I was going to do this thing. And then like a month, 2 months, 3 months, I guess I'm not going to do that. And so then you just start to expect that you're just not going to follow through on things. So whenever I had an idea and like to start like an LLC and to start this thing, I was just like, I was just determined to not let like things like a logo or the name or like just hold me up. I was like, here's the LLC, I'm just going to go. And like, I can change it later. And so it got to the point where then I felt really good about like bringing something to life. And then I just kind of carried that through to the point where I was like creating so many different things and like finishing, but then I would never finish them to totality. So it would be like this thing, you can kind of pass it off as good. And then, you know, but it was just like,
it was never 100%.
I knew it could be better, you know, and like, we're always going to be our worst critic, but I knew it could be better. So I actually started going to therapy, working with this rad dude, just because there was a lot of life changes going on in my life. And, you know, I just wanted to make sure that I had a really sound outlook on everything.
You thought it was beneficial, therapy?
Totally. I mean, like I've gone to therapy before, and like when I was like way younger, and it was the first therapist I had was just like this old dude, and we just did not see I didn't listen to me. And then the other one I had was this very hippie woman, I think her name was like Daisy or something, and she like, and like we really jived, and I was like, all right, this is great. But then, you know, time passed, and then I just didn't. But then like, and it was something like I wasn't depressed, I don't have anxiety, I don't have any diagnosis, but it was just like, I can feel stuff boiling, you know, and, you know, like my life is great, but at the same point, I was like, there's a lot of change, a lot of positive change going on in my life, but still change nonetheless. I want to make sure that I'm proactive and just like as rock solid and sound as I can be. Yeah. And what better way to have a third party just be a sounding board for you?
Yeah, kind of like a director of traffic.
Totally. Yeah. And so, and it helped me realize that I wasn't closing these loops. So I would like create something, and then I would want to create something just so I could like show other people like, oh, look what I'm doing now. Oh, like, you know, like you come across like, hey man, what's going on? Oh, I'm working on this thing. Right. And just as an ego flex. And I realized like, I'm just going to start closing some of these loops and start finishing things and making them better. And I realized that it all stemmed from back when I was an idea man and couldn't create anything, but now I'm creating a million things and not really finishing to my liking. So you just have to reflect. You just have to reflect once in a while and just kind of see where you are, where you've been, and where you want to go.
I agree with that, man. Now, I mean, like, I feel like, I mean, you obviously have a great mindset about what you're doing now, but I mean, like, you know, in high school, like I talk about high school often, but like it's mind blowing to me, like how, what's the word? Like it's mind blowing to me, like how like uncalculated I was, and how like just, you know, just whatever happened. Like I didn't give a shit about whatever. Yeah. I did not care about learning. I did not care about, like, I was just serving time in this prison, it felt like to me. And, you know, even like I talk about it on here all the time. I played football for like 15 years. I don't even know why I did. I seriously have no idea why I played for that long. And I think it stems down to being, like, you know, on a team, my friends were doing it, you know, like I'm a big dude, like it's assumed of me,
right.
But, and like my brother was a sports guy, but like, you know, I don't love it. I like I love the idea of hanging out with my friends, but in a whole, like I didn't give a shit about football. Like I don't watch any sports now. Like it just didn't care to me. And I, you know, I'm so like what's the word? Like I'm so like curious about my past now that I'm older, and that I have that time to sit there and, like, you know, kind of like reevaluate. Like this podcast has been like, it's been life-changing for me.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Because of, you know, it's therapy for me. You know, I'm forced to go to therapy once a week on the minimum. And like that's what this is. It's like I touch, you know, parts of my life that I don't even remember that just pop into my head because of someone else's stories. And for having someone like a mindset of yourself, like, are you the same type of way in high school? Like, do you feel like lost whenever you're in high school, to the point where like you don't know exactly what you want to do, but like you're still like, you know, it's not like the bigger picture? Like you seem you have such a good hold on everything now. Like, was there ever a point in life where you kind of felt like you didn't know the direction you wanted to go?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And, you know, I think, like, you know, we each kind of think back to certain points in our life. Like for you it was high school. For me, it was like early college. You know what I mean? And I kind of look back and I was just like, man, I was just like fucking around. Like, like,
exactly.
Spinning my wheels, like not doing anything.
School, everything.
Right,
you're
everything.
Like, and you go after, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's like,
it's all good.
I failed out of Slippery Rock my first year. First semester, all A's and B's. Second semester, just did not give a shit about any of it. I didn't want nothing to do with it. And in my heart, you know, if I don't love it, like I can't force myself to do it. So it's
slow clap right there. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I failed out, and then I was just like, you know, this wasn't it. Worked. And then, you know, then I went back to school later. I graduated with like a 3.8. And it's like, it was just like a weird point in life. The points in life, we were different in different points in life.
100%, man. Yeah, it's fascinating. So like same thing when I was in undergrad. You know, I was just getting like okay grades. Like I think I had like a, you know, in like the first 2 years of college, I think I had like a 2.9, 2.7 or something. Yeah. Like nothing spectacular, but nothing like
it wasn't terrible.
I know I could be doing better. And it wasn't until like I actually got into my exercise physiology program, and then like just started. The teachers were great. Like we connected. Like my advisor, Dr. Nagel, was just like my second mother. Like she just like listened to me and like just made me feel something. And then the material was just like so fascinating to me, like human physiology, like learning about like kidneys, learning about like all this shit. And I'm just like, wow. And I started getting like the highest grades in the class, like every exam. And it's
because you're passionate.
Yeah. And it's just like, and it was crazy, but then I was also surrounded by good people. And, you know, and I feel like we all, it's almost like a rite of passage where we're all going to spend time just spinning our wheels, like doing, you know, bullshit. You know? And I could see like people in my grade, like, you know, as I was like coming into my own, like it started getting like, you know, really high grades, people who were not taking the class seriously. Cause I mean, you get out of whatever you put into something, that's what you get out
100%.
Of it, no matter what it is. Like if you're doing this podcast, I'm like, that's just a podcast, but you're looking at it as like, this is an amazing opportunity, an amazing experience to like
100%.
just connect and like learn and grow. So I can look back and see those people who are just like messing around in class and like not paying attention and this and that, getting like barely passable grades and then having bad jobs after. But then I can also see them now where they're connecting the dots and they're doing cool things. They're making the changes. So like we all come into our own at different rates, and like time is so relative.
Yeah, exactly.
That, you know, so it's just like, I think that your ability, and hopefully people can like be able to look back and reflect sooner than later. Like hopefully it doesn't hit them when they're 50.
Exactly.
Hopefully it hits them when they're in their 20s or 30s, and you know, even if you're in 40s, like whatever, it doesn't matter. But like when you can have that time, like be kind to yourself, don't beat yourself up. Like I couldn't be an entrepreneur when I was in my early 20s. Like I just couldn't do it. Like it just didn't care. I didn't do it. But like now it's just like I can see all the opportunities, and I can see the opportunities to like surround myself with like super rad people and have it be work and get paid for it.
Yeah.
And be able to travel with people I enjoy and get paid for it. And I'm just like, yeah, like this is what I want to do. But like you can't appreciate and know that unless you spend time in the gallows.
Exactly.
You know?
And it's like, I work hard. Like I'm a hard ass worker, and it's like, I'm not afraid to put in, you know, extra hours. I'm not afraid of all that, but I want to do it for something that I love.
Totally.
You know, like I don't want it to be something that's just like me pissing in the wind. Like I want to do something constructive. Like I want it to be like something that I really care about. Like I'll go to the end of the world for something that I care about. Mm-hmm. But like, you know, that's why like it's such a scary thought for me now, because it's like, you know, I don't hate my job. You know, I didn't
either. I still,
I work in an engineering company where we design piping. I don't hate it. I love the people I work with, but like I could feel that there's nothing about the job that makes my heart, you know, skip a beat. You know, like I don't necessarily hate going to work, but I hate like, you know, not focusing my energy into something bigger that is like something that I want it to be, you know, like I don't give a shit about tile and pipes,
right?
You know what I mean? But like I want to do something a little bit different, and I think like the, you know, I guess I'm just fortunate that I'm kind of having this like, you know, this, I don't know,
call it a renaissance.
Yeah, renaissance. like I'm trying to like, you know, I'm trying to like tear myself down and like build myself back up how I want it to be, and it's such like I'm so gracious to be able to like speak to everyone. Like you're about to be like 110 or something, and like it's 110 conversations that I've had of like, you know, I know that the person that I'm speaking with is passionate about what we're going to be talking about, and that's their lives. Like their lives are poured into the subject matter that we're talking about. So I try to just become a sponge and learn what makes them so passionate about that, and be able to take those into my life, chew them up, and apply them where they need to be in my life. And, you know, like I show everyone that I have on here like the same amount of respect. Like I dive into what they do, and I fully try to become what they do, so I could have a conversation that is authentic. You know, like I don't have a notebook, and I just like come up with ideas by thinking like a few days in advance. Like I knew me and you were going to be talking, and like I was overwhelmed about it because like, you know, you put on like such like a shined up version of what you do. Like it's very, very like precise. It seems like you have a good, like, seems like you're very, very like composed at what you do. Like you've been at it for a minute, but it's like, I just get thrown into the wolves with everyone every week.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
you
it's
have to be like an amoeba. Right?
Yeah, I don't want to sound like an idiot, but I'm also like, you know, I'm just getting into like trying to better my life. And I feel like that it's so interesting because I'll watch your videos. I'll hear what you say, like the 1% better each day. Yeah. And it all like, you know, you could apply everything to your life in a certain way, but it's just, it's interesting how people take information and apply it to their lives. And you think like, you know, I could do it. You know, I myself could do it. I listen to podcasts. I could, you know, slowly implement things in my life that are going to be able to make my life better. But it's like, before I was frustrated with people like, why the hell can't you get this? Like, why can't you get it through your head?
Right.
But it's like not that easy.
Totally.
And I try to, you know, go back to me being like a young kid, not understanding things and feeling what I was feeling back then. And it's interesting because like you said you're like, I don't know, I guess your renaissance was in like school, like college, your first couple years of college. Now, while you're doing this, like, are you do you have any idea of like starting like a program like this? Or first of all, are you someone who gets a lot of motivation from like, motivational books and like podcasts and stuff? Were you someone who listened to that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like I've read a lot. I've read a lot of.
That was a long-winded thought.
No, it's cool, man. Yeah, just straight riffing. I kind of gravitate towards like Buddhist philosophies, Stoic philosophies, and I've just read a ton of things, and like it's really cool how books and ideas and like how you can like laterally connect these ideas together and kind of form like your own idea on these things. Like, yeah, I've listened to a ton of podcasts and read a lot of books, and the one thing is though, like that I was going to say, like, as you were talking, is you just kind of have to walk through that door, like there's everyone's going to be afraid. Like I have this idea that, you can't wait until you're not afraid to do something, because you'll just be waiting for fucking ever.
Yeah.
Like you're never, like anytime I do something, I'm still afraid, like I'm still nervous. I'm still like, ooh, like this might not work as well as I want it to. And it's like, it's fine, because you just do it. It's kind of like jumping off a high dive or jumping off a rope swing. You're just like, this is a sketch. I don't know if there's going to be a rock down there. I don't know if and you just kind of do it and you're fine. And the crazy thing that I've found is that each thing that I've been afraid of, your mind is crazy. Like your mind will make things that just aren't even there. Like these anxieties and like, oh, well, what would this person think? Like, what if I do this? And then that happens. And then this, like, whoa, bro, like you're like 3 levels deep of like, if this happens and then that'll happen, then this person will think this and then that, like none of that is real. Like none of it is real. And it's just crazy that like you're paralyzed by all this. It's almost like an analysis paralysis. You analyze every single thing, and then you can't move, you can't think, right? So the thing that I've done is just try and walk towards fear. So like if it's something you want to do, like don't just do something because like it scares the shit out of you. Like if you kind of want to do it, or you want to start that podcast, or you want to like post more on Instagram, or you want to
you just have to do it.
You just have to do it. Yeah. And then you start to realize like, oh, this isn't that bad. Like, so I'll share with you one of the examples. So, I still work part-time, but eventually like I'm just going to do my gig the full time. And I realized like I was nervous. I'm like, okay, that's normal, but like, what am I nervous? So I took time. I literally wrote out in my notebook, like, what are the things that I need to get done before I would leave my job, and I just wrote them out. So like a couple of them were like, meet with another accountant, and I had these questions, because I have an accountant, but I might want a new one who kind of understands me or listens to me a little bit more. Another one was like, meet with a lawyer, make sure my LLCs are all good. Figure out how to transfer my 401k to a new brokerage, like all this like adulting stuff, right? Like the scary stuff. And so then I had a meeting with this really rad accountant. We had a Zoom video call, and before I was like, hey, like, I paid her for an hour overtime, because I was like, please, I just want to like, learn from you and like make sure like all my I's are dotted, T's are crossed. And before I sent her this like long ass email of just like here's what I do. Like I work with a Foot Collective, I have my online business, I do this, I teach one-on-ones, I teach at climbing, like all these different things that I do. And I was like, here are my pain points. Here's where I'm nervous. Like, here's where I'm worried and that I'm messing up. Yeah. And she's like, whoa, that's a lot of stuff, but thank you. Like, thank you for the bird's eye view. And then we had our Zoom call, and she just like every pain point, every thing of doubt, she's like, no, you did that perfectly. No, this is registered fine. This is great. Actually, this is way better. You did it this way than the other way. I'm just like,
yeah, all that worry for no reason.
For no reason. So it's like everything is good. And I'm just like, wow. So like if you just take time to like walk towards fear and turn over those stones, like it's fine.
Yeah, you don't even know if it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, it's crazy.
When did you start like this social media? Like,
so it's funny enough. So I have a typewriter right over there.
Yeah.
So if you scroll back far enough on my Instagram, it'll take you some time. But I used to do a lot of like yoga challenges, which is basically like
you're into yoga.
Well, yeah, I started getting into yoga like way back, and I still do it here and there, but mostly just rock climb and run and hike and do mobility training.
I've recently got into yoga pretty heavy.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
Probably the last 2 months we probably went over 20 times.
That's rad.
And it's seriously, I feel like it changed a lot of my life.
Yeah, man.
It is very, very interesting.
But yeah, and then I had also started sharing these messages in the city. So if you scroll back far enough, I would type up these messages, and that's back when my Instagram handle was Zen Punk, because it kind of mashed up like, you know, my love for like Zen Buddhism and also just like punk and metal and like kind of like the mash of like the masculine and feminine that I kind of always felt. So I would type up these messages on a typewriter and sign it like Zen Punk, and then just leave it in the city and like the idea was that if someone was having a shit day, like they just got dumped or they're like thinking about quitting their job or like whatever, like my hope was that these words could hit that person in the way that they needed to for that person who needed it, right?
Yeah.
And so then I would like leave it in the city, but I would take a photo and post it on Instagram, and just like so that, you know, people who followed me could see the message, and if it resonated with them, and it was like a nice picture, I would shoot it with my Fujifilm or whatever. But then also would hope that that person would take that that message if they needed it, you know. So.
And when was this? Like how long ago?
I'm so bad with timelines, but maybe like. Oh man, like 2013, 14.
Okay,
something.
yeah.
So like I've been on Instagram for a while, and it's kind of like I didn't even have the intention of like, again, starting an online business or anything like that. But I just, again, the common thread is I just want to help people. I just want to help people like make moves. I just want to help people feel better about themselves. I want them to move better, feel better, think better, like just all these things. And it's just funny how I'm seeing how I can do that and make money and like help people. And money is an interesting thing. It's just an exchange of like, what do you value, right? Because I've helped people like give free advice or give free programs out or like, you know, give them tips, and it just falls on deaf ears. Like they're just not ready for it. But when people are ready to like pay you $100, $200,
you know that
$1,000, yeah, like they're ready, and like there's so much weight to it, right? Whereas like I can make the idea of like, all right, let's say you are given a free pen, and you're like, okay, cool, you lose it like 3 days later. But if you spend $25 on this like dope ass pen and you put it in your moleskin notebook, you're like, I'm not gonna lose this pen.
That's a really good point. So I didn't think about that.
It's the same thing, man. Like if you pay money for something, you're placing value on what that thing is, and then you're just gonna work harder, and it's gonna be way better. So it's like,
it's investing.
Totally.
You're investing in yourself.
Totally, 100%. So I just have found that like, you know, when people are ready, you know, then they're going to pay money, and we're going to work together and make the thing happen. So it's just kind of cool how like that, like back then, like years ago, I thought about opening like a bike cart, poetry cart, and just like posting up and like writing poetry for people. Like I was just like, oh, like I might do that, right?
Yeah.
I was like years and years and years ago, but thinking now, like if I'm gonna have more free time, and like I might just start, you know, typing up messages again, and actually, you know, started creating a couple more, and I think I'm just gonna start leaving around the city again.
That's really, really cool.
And so, and it's funny too, because I recently done a walk talk, which is basically like my walking podcast. And I did one with Baron, and we were doing I tagged along for like a free art drop.
Yeah.
It was so cool to just see people light up and just like share stories and like, oh man, like I missed this other one that you dropped. And like, we just talked with people, and like Baron is such like a down to earth dude that like,
he's a wild dude,
such a good person. And just like seeing the changes he's gone through, and like, we just keep like weaving in and out. Like it's crazy. But anyways, he was like, you know what? And he was telling other people this, you know, you can create your own art drops. You can create your own positivity in the city for people to better, you know? So he's like, what can your art drop be? And it was just a rhetorical question. But for me, I was like, dude, like we connected back when I was Zen Punk and back when I was doing these typewriter things and stuff. And I was like, I already know my art drops. Like it's these messages, right? So I'm just like, I need to get back into that, you know?
Well, let me ask you, like, so for you to be like a, you know, life coach or, you know, whatever you want to call any label you want to put on it, it's like, how do you know when you're ready to, you know, some people are like, you know, I'm an adult, I don't have my own shit figured out. You know what I mean? Like, how do you know when you could be like, you know,
helping other people?
Yeah. Like pay me and listen to me.
Yeah.
Rather than like, you know, you get what I'm saying?
Totally. Yeah. So I don't, and I know words are just words, but I don't necessarily think of myself as a life coach. I more think of myself as helping people create like online stuff, or I don't even have like a word for it. But,
yeah, I honestly could not think of like a way to describe what you do.
So what I do in terms of like, so I have mobility training that's like helping anyone move better, feel better. And then the stuff that I do with like helping people, basically I teach people how to better communicate on social media. So, and the two ways that people communicate is, can you talk on video and can you write effectively? Those are the two things. And communication and thought and being able to articulate thoughts is what differentiates us from other animals.
Well, where did that come from for you? Like, where's the beginning of that for you?
I've always loved writing, reading. I don't know, like just trying to express myself. And it was funny too, because like as a kid, I was not really good at expressing myself.
Yeah.
I just would get frustrated and I couldn't articulate what I was.
Were you like a shy person?
Like I was one of those like introverted extroverts.
Okay, yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so like I'd be out and about, but then at the same time, kind of like
your own person.
Yeah.
Keep to yourself a little bit.
Yeah. So, yeah, like kind of circling back to your question of how do you know when you're ready to like help other people or like exchange money for that. And it's kind of what I tell people, and especially if let's use the scope of a personal trainer, right?
Yeah.
You're like, who am I to teach this person about movement or training or whatever? They probably know as much as I do, or they probably learn from other people, or they probably heard this before, right? But yeah, the common idea that keeps popping up in my head is that you just need to know one more thing than the person in front of you that they didn't know to give them value, right? To improve them,
Yeah.
So you don't have to know all the things, because like no one fucking knows all the things, and if they say they do, they're just lying. And that's the thing too. Like I don't claim to be a guru of anything, like ever, and it's just, here's my life experiences, here's what I've learned, right? Like a lot of what I do is I try and cut the time it would take someone to take action on something in like half.
Oh, I like that.
Right? So like I've spent 6 months trying to figure out how to sync audio and video and like, what apps to use and this and that. So it's like, I can teach you how to do this in a day.
Yeah.
And it's going to save you like 6 months of headache. And those are the months where people give up, So it's like, if
100%.
If I can like save you the grief and the strife and teach you how to like do the thing and get off the ground running, then you just need to hone your craft. You just need to talk and write. And if I can cut all the bullshit out of it and just help you create and take away some of those roadblocks and hurdles, then that's what I'll do. So basically, if you are ahead of something, if you're ahead of someone, then you have the ability to help bring them up. So I encourage people, if you kind of have an idea of what you want to do, whether it's like starting a podcast, starting an online program, or like transitioning out of your job, talk to someone who's done what you've done.
Yeah.
Pay them for their time and just learn as much as you can. And talk to like maybe 4 or 5 different people that are kind of tangentially doing what you're doing. They're going to be like, yeah, I made the biggest mistake with this. Like, you're going to want to do this. You're going to want this mic. Make sure that you don't forget to do this, right? And they're just going to save you so many. Like, the one online program I built was like 16 full classes. And, I have like my students come in and we would film like right here at my home studio.
Yeah.
One class, and thank God it was just only me. It wasn't like on someone else's time. The audio wasn't recording the whole time. So I have a full hour and 20-minute class, and it's just no audio. And I was just like, I was so upset.
That's terrible.
But it was just like, okay, and I was learning. And then I went on YouTube. I went on, these forums and try and figure out like, why didn't the audio? And they're like, oh, if you have a GoPro Hero Black 7, you have to plug in this cord before you hit record, and then the audio. And so I'm like, note to self, and then I just wrote those directions in front. So every time I would hit record, I do that sequence, but those are the types of things that like
experience.
It's just experience.
It boils down to experience.
Yeah.
It's like, the price of what you offer is, you already weathered the storms that other people will need to weather. And that's interesting to think about because, some people might, have the thought of that, I want to be thrown into the wolves. I want to, face all these, roadblocks because that's how you, it's how you sharpen your sword basically.
Totally.
But, also if people just want to like not deal with that bullshit and waste money and waste time, and like they don't have time to to burn, it's like that's where it could come in. And that's super interesting to like think about that. And it's interesting to think that you have a bunch of different like facets of all the things that you do. And it's wild that like, it's just like a wild world that we're like living in.
It's crazy, man. The opportunities to like do what you want to do and like make it the thing you want to make it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, so my wife and I, we love podcasts, and the one podcast we listen to is My Favorite Murder. Have you ever listened to it?
I haven't, but I've heard.
Dude, it's good. I think you'll really dig it too.
I know everyone.
If you're in horror
tells
movies
me.
and stuff, like, so, it basically, I'll give you a quick, like, 1 minute overview. It's these two, rad girls from LA, who are just like, they talk like they're from LA. It's hilarious. And they're just unapologetically themselves, just hanging out, their cats in the room and, all that stuff. But they just talk about murder, and like murder's a fucked up thing. And like, just like exploring like, how could someone do this? But also just like recapping like some of the craziest things that you've ever heard. And the cool thing is that they weave in all these different themes too, of just like, mental health. And mental health is a big thing that they talk about, right?
Yeah.
They talk about addiction a lot because they both struggle with addiction. They talk about how women can stay safe in situations. So like basically their tagline is stay sexy and don't get murdered.
Yeah.
Right. So like it's like, be a rad girl, but like don't be dumb, don't, if trust your gut. Like if something seems sketchy, get out of there. Like you don't have to be polite to someone, get out of there. Like say, sorry guy, F off, and like leave, like don't wear headphones in the dark, like, all these things. So even though they're talking about like murder, they're also like cracking all these jokes, but also like weaving in like these really cool lessons. And it's just like, we saw them live at the Benedum, and they sold out like 2 nights in the Benedum. And I'm like, so these two women talk about murder and travel the world, and like, that's life. Like you can do that stuff. And like, I think it's wrong if you think like, oh, I'm going to like get famous and do this thing, but like, just talk about what you want to talk about, what gets you jazzed up.
If you build it, they will come.
Exactly. And like, there's all these people that will come out of the woodwork because the world is so big, and like people are going to like what you like.
Yeah. There are people that like what you like.
Right.
Like
it's crazy. So like, but that's the thing, I get very inspired by seeing people create something out of nothing and just bring that to life. And it's just like,
yeah, it's so interesting because
crazy.
Like we talked about Rob and like, like his progression, of what he does, and like he's one of like your students, and like it's so interesting to see because like for me, I don't know anything about you, and I just know about what you put on social media, and like I see the stuff with the Foot Collective, and I see that like I see the movement, and I see like what he does and what he posts, and like it's so interesting to me because like I'm like I was never like, I'm a big ass dude. I was never like the peak physical performance. You know what I mean? And in my life now, I'm more conscious of like, mortality and like what's coming, and like, you're getting old, and if I don't do it now, like it's going to be harder to do later in life.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And everything is like valuable, and it's so interesting to see someone like build a brand with so many different things on social media like you do, because like I see that you do all this wild shit, and it's like you could tell that you're like passionate about it because like you do so many different things, but you do them well. You definitely do them well, and you could tell that you do them well, and you could tell that you're passionate about what you do, because it's not just like cookie cutter bullshit. It's like, you find a way to make it your own. Because I could go on Instagram and find 1,000 influencers that say they're doing the same shit as you, that make it look like they're doing the same shit as you, but like, the cream rises to the top, I feel. Now, for you to like, after you were that Zen punk, like when did you, kind of transition into being like, I'm really going to like try to do this? Like when did you first get a student, and like what was the first chapter of what you were doing?
Yeah. So that's a good question. I started to realize that, because although I identified with like the whole like Zen punk, like ethos, I realized that, I might be missing some opportunity to like make some real connection, like make some additional real connection to like the other people that are out there. So I think that like changing my name to Clayton Moves was It's funny how tough of a decision it was. like when you look at like life and you're just like, I'm sitting here stressing like, oh, should I change it from Zen Punk to Clayton? It was like, it's just like a hilarious thing to like, fret about for 6 months. But that's my life. But anyways, I realized that if I can change the name a little bit, just so I might get more people in the door in terms of like, like who is this guy? But I could still be me, and keep that in the forefront, have my humor, have my puns, like, talk about the things that I want to talk about.
Personalize it to
like
you.
Then I know that I can stay true to that. So it's funny because I had a one-on-one client come in from, I think she came in, Joelle. I can't remember where you're from, Joelle. Don't kill me. But she's a punk rocker, and like she does like really cool dancing, like not flamenco dancing, but like kind of dancing like that, where it's like very step oriented. She teaches yoga. She's really rad. So whenever I change my name, she was like, no, like, like that's why I started following you, because like, Zen Punk. And I was like, the one person, but she's like, don't worry, you'll always be Zen Punk to me. And it was just kind of funny. But yeah, like, so she came up and, we did a yoga detour training. She's this really rad yoga teacher who.
What is detour?
So Yoga Detour is her handle.
Oh, okay.
So her name is Cecily, but basically Yoga Detour is the detour from traditional yoga, and it's kind of like a mashup of mobility training and yoga, and getting people to think a little bit more on like, why am I in this position? Does it serve me? Should I change this in some way? So it's just really smart movement, but still yoga. But anyways, so I've been working with Cecily and co-creating some stuff, and so. Joelle and I went to one of her, I guess you'd call it a workshop, that she came to Pittsburgh. So Cecily's from Toronto. So then Joelle came here and we had like a one-on-one in my home studio and like, filmed it and stuff. And
when is this?
What's that?
When is this? Like how long ago?
Year ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so pretty recently, but anyways, yeah. So, kind of getting back to that was a small detour there.
That's all right. That's all right. We're very tangential on this podcast.
Yeah, tangentially speaking. But what was I going to say? But yeah, so moving to Clayton Moves, it just kind of felt like that was a good move, just because it would be more approachable.
For absolutely.
And then I don't know, things just kind of started falling together. I started realizing that I could create more things and start to actually make this like more of a business.
And when did that take place?
I think it was after. So I the whole reason I started the mobility membership, which is like the $10 a month offering I have, was because I started filming videos because I realized I was repeating myself a lot. So I like, the type of training I do with mobility training, there's a lot of acronyms and there's a lot of like nerdy phrases, like cars, pails and rails, like regressive, angular asymmetrical loading, like, all this stuff. And it's just, I realized that I was like repeating this a lot in my classes, repeating it a lot for my in-person one-on-one clients, repeating a lot for like everyone. So I was just like, let me make a video so then I can send it to my clients and then they can study it, understand it, and then we can be on the same page when we actually work together. Yeah. And then someone was like, people would probably pay you for this. And I was like, okay.
So you weren't getting paid beforehand?
For the videos? No.
You were just creating these to help people.
Right. And I was just like, okay, well, I'll create something, and Netflix is like $9.50 a month or something. So I was just like, I'll call it $10,
Yeah.
And you can join, you can cancel whenever. And so then I just started like building the library up and putting more and more videos in there. And
put a pin in that. Like, So who are you creating these videos for?
So anyone who wants to move better and feel better. So like,
did you have a Instagram following before you started creating this?
Yeah. And like, that's kind of the thing. You kind of want to build the community first.
You have to have a net to have things fall onto. Like if you come out one day, like I started this podcast, I started the Instagram before that because you have to have people that are following you to be able to see when you drop that. Because if you start something and you drop it immediately, you have no followers to see it. And regardless of what people think, if it's dropped, like not too many people are going to go in the backlog unless you grab their attention.
Totally.
But like you have to build it in the beginning for them to have something.
Definitely. No, that's so true. And I 100% agree with that. Like, you just have to be you first and put yourself out there, and then like build something. And like, that's what I try and help people a lot of times is they think that I've got to release this product. I've got to release this program. It's going to be polished. I'm going to get a logo. It's going to be called the Get Shredded in 6 weeks.
Jim Stepani.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's going to be this thing. Like, and I'm like, do you even know what people want? Like, have you ever tried that? Like, have you ever like just filmed some videos for clients and see if they like it? Like, so if you can, I call it doing it down and dirty. Like, if you do something like you're running and gunning, like most of the early videos I filmed was just with my iPhone in this room, and things just get better, like as you learn and as you get better, but do it down and dirty. Like, do it like as cheap as you can and just like,
become good at that,
right? And just do it effectively and offer good value. Like the content and the value is going to be there, and the people, and then gather testimonials, share those testimonials, and then that's just a beacon for like more people who are like, hey, I'm like this, I want those results.
Absolutely.
And then they sign up, and it just kind of builds from there.
Where does your first experience with making videos come from? You just picked it up and did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you wanted to create these as a tool for helping people on your Instagram?
Yeah. So I like in the different spaces, like I've been in the yoga space.
Yeah.
I've posted a lot of rock climbing videos. So I'm in the rock climbing space. A lot of my friends do jujitsu. So I'm in that kind of space. And then just sharing, like people assume that they know what you know. You know what I mean? Like, so be like, well, of course, like, don't you know I do this? And like, no, you have to show you doing the thing for people to know that you do that thing, right? So it's like, I had this one client I was working with, and I'm like, I just want to get more one-on-one clients. I'm like, okay. I scrolled through your Instagram. I have no idea that you teach one-on-one clients. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, it's on my website. I'm like, no one's clicking your website.
Exactly.
Like, no one's looking in your like about me tab or like whatever. Like, you have to show you doing the thing,
because every day you're getting new people that never seen you.
Right. Your Instagram is a walking, living, breathing business card.
2 years I've been doing this podcast, and someone messaged me, was like, dude, like, why don't you say your name on here? Yeah. And I was like, people just know who I am because I do it. Mm-hmm. And they're like, no, not really. And then I got a message. It was like, nice to meet you. What's your name? Like, it was just someone that I was going to talk to. And I was like, oh, my name's Chad. And I started to think like my wife was like, yeah, start saying your name. Like people, like I've met people in, from my t-shirt, like I would wear, I'll call you right back shirt. Mm-hmm. And people would be like, oh, I listen to that podcast. Like, and I'd be like, oh, this is me. Like I do this. And they're like,
I'm Chad. Yeah.
Oh, like and I think about that, like 100 episodes, like I seriously never would say my name. And it's just like, now I say my name more. People like, if they listen, they know my name now. Mm. And it's interesting because like, we were talking about before, like you get through that like struggle in the beginning of like not having any people that are listening. Mm-hmm. And like, that's discouraging at first, but like, that's where you have to rely on like the good mental attitude that, this is just, this too shall pass. Like this is going to grow. Like I have faith in myself to grow this. So I remember going and like having only like, 10 listens on a podcast. And now I see that there's like, hundreds of listens on podcasts. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it makes me so much more grateful that I like went through that. 'Cause I'm a wishy-washy person. Like I've done all kinds of shit and I've let it fall, I don't stay dedicated to shit. Mm-hmm. I'm not consistent with things. And like, there's 100 things that I've started that I never finish. But, I also think that like, you have to try things to be able to figure out if you like them.
Totally.
Because if you never know until you do it. Like, it's just wild to me that like, these like, they're almost like, they feel like simple thoughts and simple like thought processes that you're like, damn, like, why wasn't I just doing this before? But it's like it didn't click until, later in life. And it's so interesting to like think about that and think like how like powerful the mind is and like, how you could, manipulate it and get out of like, if you're having like a funky day, you're just like, I'm getting out of this. Like, I'm not going to be this way anymore. Mm-hmm. And I used to be like super, I used to be a depressing person. Like I used to be a negative person,
Right.
like always just like raining on people's parades, like
Sharing all the negative shit that happened to you.
yeah. And I just remember being like a negative, like a person, but you know, I remember like having that transition to being like a glass half full guy. And I always try to find the good of things. I always try to think that, you know, it could be worse. And like, you know, I try to like have that outlook on life because that's just a brighter feel. Like my everyday is brighter. Like, you know, if you wake up and you're just like, you know, you start out in a negative, it's harder to get to where you want to go because you're already in that deficit.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know, every day is just, it's a new day. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like myself having like this renaissance is like refreshing to me. And like, I hope that like the podcast like helps people understand that like, you know, just by hearing someone's experiences like yours or mine, you know, they could really like kind of be like, you know, I kind of think like that too, and realize that there is opportunity to grow and change.
Totally.
And like, it's never like, you know, too late to do shit like that.
And the cool thing is like when you are, you know, if you can push through the like, oh, no one's listening to this, or like, oh, no one's liking this, or no one's commenting or sharing on this or whatever. If you can just keep pushing and like staying true to like the message that you want to put out there, someone's going to like it and someone's going to dig it and someone's going to share it and then someone's going to share it. So like, you know, that's the thing, like we all grow together. So like you share something, like you're saying like, I'm a part of this community. I'm a part of like, I believe in this. And so like, that's the thing. So we had mentioned, Dean Bogg was one of my mentors, or one of the students I had, the previous round of the mentorship. So I have like 6 people I work with every 6 months.
Yeah.
And I do like single coaching sessions as well, like, you know, in addition to that, but I like to have 6 people that I really work with, and like I vet them like it's an interview process. Like they're interviewing me and seeing like, hey, like, can this person really help them? But I'm also interviewing them, being like,
do I want to?
I'm going to be hanging out with you for 6 months, bro. Like I want to like you. I want to believe in you. I want to know, like, believe that I can help you.
Yeah.
And also just like do this together, right? So
is there people that you have to turn down?
So there's always a delicate way of doing it, but yeah, I mean, there's, you know, there's sometimes a not good fit. You know, sometimes people don't know exactly what they want, you know, and I'm like, this is expensive. If you know what you want and I can help you, then yeah, let's move together. But if you're just like, I just don't know what I want to do, spend some time, take 6 months, take a year, take whatever. I'm always here. If you're ready, then that's fine. But, you know, if you don't know what you want, or you can't get specific enough, or, you know, there's a multitude of reasons that it might not be a good fit for, you know, either of us. But anyway, so Dean had reached out to me and he was like, hey man, like I think I might be interested in your mentorship. And I was like, well shit, this is exciting, you know, because at that time I had been working with like health and fitness professionals, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I was like, I'd love to work with a creative because I love the arts. I love film. I love music. I go to shows all the time. And so it's just like, yeah, I think we could, you know, make this work. And so it was funny because like Dean interviewed me the hardest out of anyone else I worked with. And he was like, I don't know, man, I just want to make sure. And so then we ended up like starting working together, and it was a lot of his earlier YouTube stuff. Like I think you had like dug back a bit. This is before like Neighborhoods. This is before, you know, The Stairs. This is before he did like, you know, all that stuff. But he was doing some, you know, like very artistic, you know, I would almost like, he can explain it how he wants, but like, you know, almost like off the wall, kind of avant-garde, you know, and it's like the general public, you know, wasn't really watching it. Right. And so he's like, but you know, I don't want to be a sellout. I don't want to create stuff that is just for people to, you know, clickbaity or this or that. And I was like, yeah, I totally, man. Like we want to try and find that line where you can be artistically true to yourself and who you are, but also like bring that line of like watchable, relatable, and like just kind of shrink the gap. So like a sinusoidal wave, if you can get that closer, and still like be you, but have it be a little bit more, you know, to the public, then you can find something creative. So I will never, ever, ever, ever take credit for like, you know, the amazing work that he did.
But we get it.
But like, I basically was just trying to help him create, you know, a routine and a path to be able to like create something. So he was, you know, together we were like, all right, I'm going to create a YouTube video a week. I'm going to create an Instagram post a week. I'm going to do this, and just like get consistent on it, set deadlines for himself. But, Yeah, once he started like creating neighborhoods like that first episode, and like there was like a couple episodes where like, you know, during the Oakland episode I like cried. I was sitting like right here and I was just like, I've got a tear in my eye, like this is beautiful. And I like texted him, I was like, this is so amazing.
Yeah, he does touching things.
It's he's so good and has such a gift and just such a like I just love the dude, right? And, and so it was just,
he's a very interesting guy though, because like, you know, you could tell that there's that artistic sense of him that he doesn't want to be on social media. Like he wants to create, but he doesn't want that, you know, that distraction of posting, and getting that feedback. And I don't know if it's necessarily, I don't know if it's like, it's almost like taking a compliment from someone. It's like, some people are like, like they can't, some people can't take a compliment.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to think about that.
But like I and like I've told him, and like I can say that it's going to be a good skill for him, because if you look on the other side of the coin, the people that attach their self-worth to how many comments or how many likes they get, that's a dangerous slippery slope.
Exactly.
Whereas he's like, I just kind of want to create the art and then like post and then get off. Perfect, man. Like just perfect. But
yeah,
like,
that's a good.
You have to look at social media as a necessary conduit and a tool to be able to like connect with people and to be able to like, you know, have it be shared on Reddit, have it be shared on Facebook or whatever. Like, and you don't have to be immersed in it, but you have to be
conscious of it.
Put it out there enough, and then just go live your life. Like post, like answer 1 or 2 comments, and like everyone's got a different approach to social media.
Yeah,
but like, you have to use a tool because it's a powerful tool. Like,
yeah, super powerful, especially for, you know, not necessarily like you having to like, you know, do that as far as like validation, but it's like a tool for growth.
Totally.
It's like you have to grow that in order to be able to grow with you. I mean, like regardless, anyone that I talk to, I immediately go to their social media. You know, some people will be like, oh, you should talk to this person. And I'll immediately go there and I'll dive all the way back to the beginning. And because if you're a piece of shit back then, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I ain't going to give you a time of day about it. Like, I'm not saying that like if I disagree with your beliefs, but like if I see you doing some fucked up shit, like I'm not going to like even give you the time of day. It's just my whole thing with like the way I curate the podcast, you know, I'm selfish with it. You know, I don't talk to people unless I'm interested, because like we said before, if I don't love it, I'm not going to, I can't force myself to love something. So I also don't have a notebook. You know, this is all very authentic from my passions.
I love
it. Because like, I feel that if I have a notebook, you know, whenever I first started this, are you familiar? You said you listen to heavier music.
Yeah.
You know, like Moss to Flames.
Yeah.
So like one of my very, very good friends, like he played in a local band, and like we used to travel to go see them. You know, we would drive to go see like Moths to Flames, and now he's the guitarist and he writes. You know, he is part of that band, and like we listen to them so much. Like, like they have a song called "You Won't Be Missed" that like we would just play on repeat for so long, and it was just like it just ripped. And my first podcast was him. His name's Zach Pishney, and you know, I had a list of questions, and all it was me. I was so conscious of I wanted to hit these questions that it took away from like the authenticity of the podcast, because I would ask a question, have his answer, and I would be half-assed listening because I wanted to prepare for the next question.
It's like the corporate version of a podcast.
Exactly. And it felt so gross to me because I wasn't present, you know, in their, like I was there obviously, but I wasn't present in their answer and like listening to what it was. And I realized that I wasn't able to, you know, soak up the passion and the choices that people made. And like I really was conscious of like wanting to take in, because even if, let's say, I never talk about politics on here, people might hate Donald Trump, whatever. People are passionate about whether you're a believer in Donald Trump or Bernie Sanders or whoever the hell's running. I don't give a shit. But people are passionate enough to have that be the way that their body is ingrained. And it's like, no matter if it's something we don't agree with, you know, I'm going to take some knowledge from it, whether it's like, you know, people are passionate about things because they're passionate. It's like they believe in that. They believe in that wholeheartedly. There has to be something about their beliefs that I could apply to my life and, grow from. And it's hard to do that. I feel like some people might not even want to give that an opportunity. I'm just very open-minded about everything. I'll talk to anyone about, anything, because like I am not impressionable to the point where like I'm just going to be swaying back and forth.
Flip-flopper all the time.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But my goal is to be able to chew up people's thoughts and like their passions and everything, and come out with something, that I can apply their beliefs to, in my life in a certain way.
Dude, that's what it's all about. I mean, like, that's why I love travel, because you are put in these situations where you're immersed in a culture, immersed in like a totally different environment, and you throw in like uncertainty and stress and meeting deadlines and catching trains and doing this, but at the same time that you come back and you pull pieces of that, and that shapes like the next version of you. So it's like when you can have these organic conversations with people and just riff, like stream of consciousness, just riff, like being in that moment, like talking with people, like feeling it, that push and pull, like that's life, man. Like it's not the scripted bullshit. You know? And it's like,
and that's my goal with all of it is like to be able to just like talk to people and, kind of just, figure out why they do what they do, because like, that's someone's life. Like that's literally, we all have one life. If they're on this path,
YOLO.
If they're on this path, they're there for a reason. And like, the reason that they're there could be, I just want to know why, because it's beneficial in a certain way. It's interesting because of like, like whenever you look back on the stuff that you did in the beginning with social media, are you like kind of like, we're all our biggest critics, but like, are you cringy with some of the stuff you did back then?
I can laugh at myself.
Do you keep it?
Yeah, I don't delete anything.
See, I feel it's so important for that to be like that. Like, I feel it's so important to see where you grew from. You know, you have to, if you wipe your Instagram and you like if you go back and scroll through the podcast shit, the first like 30 posts are just random stupid things that like I was just cutting my teeth on, but like I thought, no, should I delete all these? But then I was like, I want people to see my growth. Like,
and for the people that like are gonna want to look, they're gonna look, and for the people that don't care, they just won't look.
Yeah,
and,
like, they just don't look.
That's the thing. Like there's so many people in this world that like, for the people who want to dig, they'll dig, and for the people who don't care, they just won't care. And and it's just like, I don't know. It's an interesting thing because, again, I think if you leave that stuff up there, the imperfect stuff, getting back to like, you give people that permission to be imperfect and to like be rough around the edges and like to do things imperfectly. Because like that. When you look back, and like some of the favorite people that I follow, like again, curating your environment, like I only follow people that like, I feel like I can learn something from, or that like I jive with, or that like I believe in them, or they're a good friend or whatever. But like, like we don't have cable. Like I don't watch the news. Like if it's something like important enough, you're gonna hear it. Like you know what I mean. And then you do your own research based on the things that you want to learn more about. But like, same thing with social media. Like you just like curate what you're exposed to. But there are a couple of people that I really admire in social media, like in my mobility space, and they'll share like, this is a post from back in 2015, and you can just see like how bad it was, right? Like, and where they are now. So it's just like, just keep going. Like I think I've seen a picture or a clip of like Joe Rogan's first podcast. It's like, this is Joe Rogan's first episode. And
it has like the graphics scrolling down.
Yeah, it's just like, it's hilarious, but it's just like, yeah, we're all just people. Like, like you don't need all the gear. You don't need all the things. You don't need like, I've just slowly accumulated the lighting, the
changed
cameras,
the world.
Totally. So it's just like,
the way that we consume media is honestly, a lot of people think like, oh, Rogan's like, he's an alpha meathead type dude. He literally changed the world.
Yeah.
Like he changed media in such a crazy way that, he was a lot of the reason that all these people we listen to on podcasts even have one. There was people obviously that did podcasts way before him, but like, as far as someone who's made it as mainstream as it is, like it's wild to think about that, because like our generation, like me and you were the same age, I feel like, you know, if it's that important, you're going to hear about it on there. Like, you know, it's like a cure. I don't even know how to describe what it is. It's like, if it's important, we'll hear about it. If not, like, you know, it's almost like a filter of all the bullshit. He obviously has different things that he favors over, and like he has topics that are brought up way more, but like, you know, it's wild to think like how far podcasting reaches. Like, he had Bernie Sanders on his podcast to talk about that. That interview is the most revealing interview of that person. You know, if he had Donald Trump on there, that would be the most revealing interview of that. It's like, there's a different like set of circumstances whenever, you know, you hear someone speak for 10 minutes on a TV program rather than sitting down with someone for 2 hours to be able to talk about them or talk with them and learn, because like it is tangential, it is, you know, random, but like, you know, I'd rather that than just like the bullshit Spark Notes. Yeah, you know what I mean? People totally are just talking about their talking points.
Yeah.
But like, you know, that's what's so great about podcasting. It's like you can riff off things. You can go a different way. You can talk about different things and like kind of like, you know, carve that path as you're talking about it. And it's interesting to think about that. I mean, it's just a wild thing to be able to like see someone. You know, it's so different for me because I don't think that I've spoken to anyone who has been in your lane. You know what I mean? Like, and it's weird not weird, but it's like, it's uncomfortable for me in a way that like, you know, I'm not very educated in what you do. And like, I think that that's what's beneficial about my podcast is like, you know, I'm an ignorant person to a lot of things. And I feel that I'm asking all the ignorant questions that people, you know, are curious about that just don't ask themselves. You know what I mean?
Totally. I mean, you have to just like be willing to learn, you know, like it just always be
an open book.
Yeah. One of my favorite Operation Ivy songs is Knowledge. And it's like the chorus is just like, all I know is that I don't know. All I know is that I don't know nothing. And it just like riffs on that for like 2 minutes and then the song's over because that's punk rock. It's just, you know, 2 minutes and done. But yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, you'll never know all the things, and it's comforting in a way, you know. And it's just, you just keep getting information and just like making moves off the information you have in front of you, you know? Absolutely.
Wow. Jeez.
Punk rock, man.
You know, I honestly thought that this episode was going to go completely different than I thought. I thought we were going to talk about the importance of like, you know, not wearing shoes.
Right. We could talk about that too if you want, man.
You know what I mean? But like, it's interesting to hear like the way that you process things and that you do things. But yeah, give me a quick explanation of that, because I didn't know really any of that. And you started posting some things about how like, you know, shoes nowadays are like, you know, they're not made for our feet.
Yeah, man, I can definitely talk about feet. And it's funny because it's like people will be like, oh, like you're into feet. I'm like, not in that way. Like, you know, I'm just like into helping people understand how their body works. And feet are like one of the most, you know, misunderstood thing by like the general population. So if you look at a shoe, it's in a modern day shoe, it's essentially like a foot coffin, right?
Yeah.
It's thick, it's not flexible, it's narrow, and typically has a heel to it. So like you think like, oh, like women wear heels. Dude wear heels all the time, because you look at a shoe, if it's got a thick sole and an elevated heel and then it tapers down, then you're standing on a wedge, and then your body has to adjust that up the change. So your hips, your pelvis, your lower back, your shoulders, your head have to adjust to this like leaning forward alignment. And because you're not going to do the Michael Jackson lean, you're going to do something finicky and weird to like stay upright. So then you'll get compression in your lower back, you get all these things. So it's just not a natural thing to be in, you know, 10 hours a day, right? Yeah. We wear shoes all the time. Like, so barefoot shoes, and it's kind of an oxymoron because it's like, well, if you're in shoes, you're not barefoot, but barefoot shoes are essentially, in the Foot Collective, we call it WTFF, like, what the fuck, like, you know, shoes, right? So it's a shoe that is wide, a shoe that is thin. So it's a thin sole, flexible, and flat. So I should have like a shoe around.
I saw what you were wearing.
Yeah, so I just had a video that I filmed for Yoga Detour talking about like how to identify optimal shoe wear. So if a shoe is wide, it allows your toes to splay. So your foot is essentially your foundation. So it holds all of your body weight when you're standing. So think of it like a house. Like if you have a shit foundation, it's cracked, and then you try and build a dope ass house on a broken foundation, that house isn't going to be worth much because it's just going to fall apart. Same thing. Like if people are just like hell bent on getting big glutes and abs and like big chests and arms, but their feet are like weak and atrophied and just brittle, then it doesn't matter like, how strong you are up the chain. If your foundation is weak, then you're not going to run very well. You're not going to lift very well. You're just not going to move well. And so feet should be wide, have their toes be able to splay. And then you have all these intrinsic muscles of the foot. So they call it the foot core, right? So if your feet are weak because they're essentially put in a box, then they're not working, right? So think of it like if you put your arm in a cast and you take that cast off after 6 months, your arm is shrunken because you just didn't use it, right?
Absolutely.
Think about your feet being in like bricks for 30 years, right? Your feet are going to be super weak, right? They're just going to be extremely deconditioned. So the laws of physiology apply to your feet as they do your biceps. There's no difference. So if you wear a barefoot shoe, it's going to be wide. It lets your toes splay so you can have a stronger foundation, but you're also going to feel more things. Like when you're walking down a street, then you're going to feel the cobblestone. You're going to feel that twig. You're going to feel that acorn you step on. And it's all stimulus and input that your brain now has to adjust to, right? Mm-hmm. So the interesting thing too is that they've measured like force production, like with like shoes and like being barefoot. So your foot is always searching for the ground because that's the natural force. Like if you're talking like from physics, like that you can feel and then push off of. So if you have a thick sole, you're gonna naturally walk heavier and strike the ground harder because your foot's searching for that.
Because it has that protection under it.
Exactly. So then what happens when people transition to more of a minimal shoe, like that's thinner and you can feel more things, like, oh, like these shoes are bad because like now my feet hurt. Well, yeah, because like you're adjusting.
They're coddled.
Right. Yeah, they're coddled. Exactly. Yeah. So you're dealing with a lot of things. So I think it's an important, and we talk about this a lot in the Foot Collective with like how to transition to it. So it's like, don't throw away all your shoes. Like buy a pair of minimal shoes, wear them for a bit, and then put your old shoes back on. You know, like slowly expose yourself. Like you wouldn't go, if you've never done a push-up, you're not going to go bench 200 pounds, right? Like learn how to do a push-up first. It's the same thing. It's progression. So
when did this come into play in your life?
For me, probably about like close to 10 years now. Like I started wearing barefoot shoes and I started like following.
How does that come into play? Like how do you even learn about that? Where does that start?
So there's this one author, for your listeners, like you said, we're kind of in different spaces. So I highly recommend reading books by Katie Bowman. She's a biomechanist and she's just like a movement nerd. She's really, really funny. So if you listen to podcasts, I would just listen to her on Audible, like her book on Audible on Amazon, because she's fucking hilarious and she's super smart and she explains things in a way that is just like makes so much sense. But basically, she was probably what got me into like considering wearing more minimal footwear, and then just experimenting that and then feeling it. Like so. Experience is like we talk about social media creating things, like you have to walk through that door. So experience is going to be the best teacher. Like I could
of anything in anything in life.
Exactly. So I could tell people of all the benefits of barefoot shoes, but like until you actually like try it out, and
you don't even realize it.
Yeah, you won't know. So like you'll be like, man, my feet are sore. Like man, like I like you just start to notice all these feels. And then for me, like I noticed how it was impacting like my back, and I'm like, oh, like my back's feeling better. That's interesting, right? So in everything that we do. Especially with the Foot Collective, and like what I do too. I don't, again, claim to know everything. I'm just like, I'm 30 years old.
But you're searching for the answers.
Right, right.
You're actively searching.
Yeah, and like, but I look at more as like experimentations, right? So you look at like people like Tim Ferriss or Aubrey Marcus or, any of these people, and we're all just like apes trying to figure out like what's going to make us happy, feel good, and
exactly
give fulfillment. So it's just like, try something out. It's not like, and again, it's not like I say this is the equation to be happy, or this is equation to feel like the best, and like this training modality is like the gold standard, like all the other ones are wrong. It's like, no, you just need to move more and just feel better. But I can share that, like, okay, wearing barefoot shoes, like meditation, breath work, like mobility training, like these things have all helped me feel pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And give them a try if you want.
Yeah.
Like that's like, I'm just sharing my experiences and what worked and what doesn't work. And
you're a guinea pig.
Yeah, exactly. And you're totally allowed to try it out, disagree with me, agree with me, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, that's all it is. So
it's interesting, like how like of a shock it was. Like whenever I went and visited Rob, we went and we hiked the Sequoia. We went to see the Sequoia trees.
Yeah, dude,
and
we
shit.
went to Sequoia too. It's awesome.
It was insane out there. General Sherman is just crazy to see.
So big, like you can't. A picture can't do
35
it.
foot, 35 foot in diameter. That's wider than your house.
So crazy.
It's wide. I mean, it's crazy to think about that. But
Nature's
Rob has,
incredible.
he had a piece of bar in his room,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "What the hell is this?" And he's like, "I walk on it," and I'm like, "Walk on it?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, it's it strengthens my feet." And we got into like this conversation about like how, because like, me and Rob are so similar. Like I looked up at him like growing up, like skateboarding, music. Like he was a person that
Exposed you a lot to it.
exposed me to a lot of things, like mainly music. I don't know if there's anyone that I've learned more about music from than Rob. Like, and we've always bonded. Like his cousin is married to my brother, so like we always had more of a connection because
Wow.
like we like it's such a weird like thing. But I would see Rob move up here from Atlanta, and like he was just like a cool dude, so good at skateboarding, into the coolest music, wore cool shit, and it's just like he was such an easy person to like want to be like. And obviously if he changes his life, I notice it. So for the last 15 years, we wear Vans, we wear, Jordans, whatever,
Right,
we're
right.
wearing this bullshit. And like, for me to see his life change as drastically as it has, like it obviously sparks my curiosity. Like, why is this changing? What is different?
Right.
What is about this? What's important? Why does he love this so much? And like, I start to like learn like his philosophies and like what he wants to better about his life. And obviously you come in to play with a lot of that stuff too. And this foot bar, I remember just walking on this bar and thinking like, this is insane hard. Right. And he's just like, yeah, dude, it's really, really wow.
And it's so simple too, right?
Until you do it, you're just like, holy shit. It's like people critiquing UFC whenever like they've never rolled in jiu-jitsu or anything. It's like, dude, get off the ground. You're just on the ground.
Right.
And you're like, you literally have no idea how physically demanding it is to be intertwined with a human being for 30 seconds. Like every ounce of your energy is gone.
Mentally, physically.
Physically, it's insane. And like, it's so cool. I like, obviously, like I bring Rob up and I like talk about him a lot, but
He's a good dude. I love Rob.
It's so great to see that growth and to see that there's obviously like some benefit because, I've seen like, his physical change, but overall I see his mental change and like what he wants to do. And me and him talk because like, who asked me opinion about social media and stuff, because like I built all this shit on my own.
Yep.
I've done all this stuff myself, and I see what he's wanting to get into and like what he likes and like what his goals are. And it's just refreshing. And it's also like, it's also like bringing things to my attention. And it's like, I want to feel better. I want to do better. And that's like why I started getting into yoga. That's like why I started to go back to the gym and everything, because it's like, there was a time whenever I was younger, I've always been a big dude, but my friend Dylan is super into physical fitness, like, and I just lost 75 pounds working out with him over like 3 months. This was in probably like 2012.
Wow.
I went from being like 315 down to like 245 or something. And it was just like life changing and
huge
like
change. Yeah.
huge change. But I started a professional career, going to work, gained it all back, you know, and it's nobody's excuse. It's no excuse but my own. It's just like lazy going to work and not pushing yourself to go to the gym after because like, oh, I'm tired from working. But realistically, I'm just sitting at a desk. But mentally, I'm tired and I'm just lazy. There's no excuses. But like, you know, and then I start to realize, you know, I'm 30, you know, I'm starting to get a little bit older. Like, you know, I see people die and it's just like a crazy shock to me. And it's like, you know, I want my life to be better. Like me and my wife, we always say like, you know, we were both looked one way whenever we met each other, but then we gained comfort weight because, you know, it's just easy for it to come on. And like, it's so weird to think like how much I think about my life and like how I want to feel better and be better mentally, physically. You know, a lot of it stems from Rogan too, though, like doing a sensory deprivation tank.
I just did one yesterday. Yeah.
For the first time?
No, I've floated like 7 times now.
Now, it's interesting because the first time I feel like I would benefit way more now, but the first time I did it, I was kind of overwhelmed. I think that I had a good idea of what it was going to be like just from listening to Rogan talk about it all them years.
Totally.
And like kind of how to prepare for it. But once I got in there, I felt that I had the most trouble with my breathing. Like I could not get it under control. It was always just like, felt like I was short of breath because I wanted to have that like vinyasa type breathing where it was just like equal in, equal out. But it was so like, I wasn't like lifting or at the gym or anything whenever I did this a few months ago. But since then I started going to yoga and like, I swear to God, yoga has changed my life as far as like breathing.
Hell yeah, man.
You know, like I want to go in there now because I know that my breathing will be better and more, you know, disciplined breathing and I'll be able to like concentrate and do that more. But it's like small things about my life that I want to improve because, you know, the quality of my life is gonna, you know, I want it to improve. I just want my quality of life to improve.
I think you have your why, you know what I mean? Like you have like, and again, I think people arrive to this at different points in their life.
Different
and,
points for sure.
And like have their different reasons, but like, yeah, it's you know, and that's why I started getting into running. So I've been running for like 2.5 months now. I did a stint where I ran every day for 20 days.
I saw that.
Yeah. And then, and again, like I'm not a runner. Like
what do you mean 2.5 months? Like you didn't run a lot back then?
No, like I never ran. Like I never ran at all. Like, I mean, like when I say I played soccer, I was a goalkeeper. When I say I swam 2 laps and that was it. Like, you know, so like, like
you weren't like a cross country or anything.
No, hell no. And like when I was, when I rock climb, like I do bouldering. So I'm done in like a minute. You know? Like I do like longer climbs, like in New River Gorge and stuff, but still like, you know, these are, I've never had an endurance, right? And it was always like, it pissed me off because like I was like, I want to have that. I want to feel that. And so I actually drafted up a post I'm going to post Instagram probably like this week, but it was the mindset shift that changed my relationship with running was that I used to think like, oh, I'm going to run to get lean. And that's just not sustainable. Like you're just gonna wake up one day and just be like, fuck it, you know?
Yeah.
But like now, like I'm gonna run because I want my heart and my lungs to be healthy so that I can travel with my wife until I'm like fucking 80 years old and like hike mountains and stuff. Like that's my why.
And not be confined to a chair when you're older.
Exactly, dude.
You know what I mean?
I've seen a whole, like in health coaching and mobility training, like in like friends, family, I've seen a lot of people like lose their independence at a pretty young age just because they don't take care of their body. And it's like, you get this one meat suit. Yeah. You better take care of it because like, it's not going to take you very far if you don't take care of it. You know, and it's not a thing to be afraid of. You can regain. The body is incredible at, you know, changing if you give it the inputs.
Absolutely.
So it's like, even if you're 50, you can still change. You can still have like the most mobile body, the most like, you know, incredible cardiovascular system, even way better when you were 20 at 50. You just have to like
put in the work
and be kind to yourself. Like, you know, like that's the biggest thing, you know, it's not no pain, no gain. It's not grind till you die. It's just like, figure out what you want to do and then get some guidance, get some people to help you through it, and then surround yourself with people that want the same thing you want. Yeah. And then that's the thing. Like if you don't have the community and the environment, and then, you know, that's it, right? Like for me, I used to drink a lot in college, and now we'll just have like wine with dinner, or like I have like a couple good stouts. Like Rob and I message about stouts. I think that's probably why he joined the mentorship, because like we would always DM about stouts.
He's crazy about it.
But no, like in all honesty though, like it like it's now like I appreciate like a drink now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'll still get drunk like if it happens, but I'm not going out there to do it. And I realized that I had to reshape my environment. Like the people I just wanted to like belly up to the bar and like pound PBRs and just like I just can't do that anymore, because like that's not what I want out of life. And it's not that like I would look down on people that do that, but it's just like I just want to hike, and I just want to travel, and I just want to feel good and have energy.
Absolutely.
And not be hungover till 2. Like,
have energy is like have the willpower, not the willpower, but the want to go out there and do things, and to go walk and go, explore, and not have it like, be so physically demanding on your body. And it's like you take these like these small steps now, they're gonna mount up to be, astronomical in the future. It's like you take this I don't know the quote that I was trying to find into my head, but
cool.
It's like you take these few like steps in the beginning to make yourself, it's going to be beneficial later, because damn, I wish I could remember what it was.
That's cool. One thing, and if it pops into you, just like interject. But the one thing is talking about like motivation and like willpower and that kind of stuff. So there's this thing within behavior change where it's intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So extrinsic motivation is the stuff that you have to set outside of your body and your mind and your environment. It could be your direct environment to like make you want to do the thing. So like a calendar reminder, a workout buddy, this or that, like, something that you physically can see, and then it makes you want to do a thing. Intrinsic motivation comes when you actually, again, walk through that door, do those, running for a month, or like hiking, or doing mobility training, and like feeling the difference in your joints, like whatever it is. You have to then feel it, experience, embody it, and then you're just like, fuck yeah, man, like I'm like, no, there's no way I'm not doing this.
Yeah,
right?
yoga is a perfect example for me.
Exactly. So like you like now I don't have to like be like, hey man, like you should go. It's like I get pissed if I miss a week of yoga, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you're like, man, I really missed out. Like,
that's a really good point. It's like I don't know. It's all everything comes down to experiences.
Yep.
That's basically all it is.
That's all it is, and it's like, you just have to, you'll never have the intrinsic motivation off the bat. I think people beat themselves up because they don't feel this like enlightened, like thing where it's like, oh, I should want to do this, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, no, set up the environment, set up the meetings on your calendar, get the push notifications, do the thing that you need to, and then have the experiences, feel it, and then you'll have the intrinsic motivation. It's not the other way around, So it's just like set up the parameters, set up the environment, set up the reminders, set up the goals, whatever. And then it's like, then you'll be good, But like you have to like give yourself time to feel the intrinsic stuff. Wow.
That's heavy stuff. That's good stuff. Man, what are your goals?
My goals, it's funny because I try and reevaluate. After, and it's so funny because like I don't have a podcast, but with doing the walk talks, just like reflecting on talks I've had with Tyler and with Baron, and I'm gonna have Dean on one on Monday, but he said something that kind of really struck to the core of me, and it felt like he was talking like right to me, and it was like talking about goals and how. You think of, I'm going to do this, and then when that happens, I'm going to do this, and then this, and it's the same thing when we were talking like a bit ago. It's like, well, I don't know if I want to do that because what if this happens, and then that happens, and then this person thinks that. So on the other side, it's like, well, I'm going to do this, and when this happens, I'm going to do that. So like, Barron was just like, you kind of paint yourself into a corner of like not being able to be fluid and flexible enough to like make decisions as you go. So. I was like, wow, like that's true. There's like a rigidity in it. So it's almost like having the goals is fine, but to be able to like reflect and assess like, okay, is this really the next move I want to make? Or is it just the next move that I thought I wanted to make, or that I think other people think I should make, or something like that. Right. So for me, like right now in this time and space, like traveling more is definitely like my goal. And like, I'm going to be doing that with the Foot Collective. So I'll be co-teaching seminars with a dude from Australia.
That's awesome.
Shout out to James. Yeah. And co-teaching with Nick, who started the Foot Collective, and just like, yeah, we're just gonna be going places and teaching things. And all the while, like, it's an opportunity for me to, have more clients on the road and video. Also to teach in front of more people in different spaces, record that thing, show me doing the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what it's all about. Like, people have to see you as that thing, so then they can like connect the dots in their brain, like, oh,
Absolutely.
wow, like this dude knows what he's talking about.
And see what, like, put a face to your name almost.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and the cool thing is too, it's checking off the boxes. I get to travel. I get to be around like people I really enjoy, and I get to challenge myself. Like, I really get to be in a space that's a little bit more unfamiliar for me. And then I get to just see if I like it. Like, I get to spend months and months of just like traveling and teaching seminars and doing these things. And then I get to reflect and be like, do I like this?
Yeah.
Do I want to do more of it?
Yeah.
Do I want to do it in a different way, where maybe like,
do I want to do something else? Like,
or like, do I only teach seminars for like 2 months and then like take a break and then like do seminars like, again after
it's fun to figure out the equation.
Exactly.
And what part you like more, what part you dislike, what part isn't as rewarding for you. And it's cool to like figure that out. And like, I mean, with anything anyone does, like that's the best part about figuring it out.
Totally.
It's like to see yourself grow, to make sure yourself is growing, like to not be stagnant. And
totally.
Like,
and that's the thing. Like, whenever I work with someone with like any kind of coaching, is just I have them fill out like a 10-question questionnaire, and like the people that fill out like paragraphs, I'm just like, fuck yeah, like let's go,
Yeah.
And so the one question is, what do you want to do more of? And then the second question after that is, what do you want to do less of? And I think
like
the more important question is like, what do you want to do less of?
Yeah,
then
do less of it.
What is the shit that is a drag to you? And like,
I love that.
And cut it out. Like, just do less of it, and that's the thing. Like, you're literally curating things that energize you and like bring you happiness. And like, when you get done with like banging out a podcast and you feel like invigorated by it, and not just like, oh man,
that's exactly
draining.
how I feel.
Right.
I feel insane after I'm done. Like, I'd recorded one just before I came here,
right,
and it was so good. And it's
awesome.
all we did was talk about soup. Her name
amazing.
is Brothmonger.
Yeah.
You should follow her if you're into soup and shit like that.
Yeah,
She is
right,
just
soups. Yeah.
she just creates these quality. She'll do one vegan, one regular one, and it's just like, we had a 2-hour-long podcast and it felt like I took drugs after. I was so excited, and like, it's after every podcast I get so excited, and it's like a burst of adrenaline that is just like, I just want to go create something, and I think that also is like the people that I speak with, like how I curate it. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm obviously only going to talk to people that are doing things that are, interesting to me. Yep. But it's like, that is motivating to me, whether it's someone who digs a grave or who, is a comedian or does rap music or whatever. It's like, I'm someone who's like, my mind is malleable enough to be able to, grasp any sort of like, motivation or anything out of someone's story. And I apply that to my life.
Oh yeah, man.
And I'm thankful enough that my mental state is where it is right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I mean, you seem to have a great mental state as well.
It's been a long road, but I mean, like,
it's a long road,
and that's the thing. Like,
not everyone gets there as quick as the other people, but it's not like the end of the tunnel is not there. It's just like, some people have a couple turns, some people have not, and I feel like that. The services that you offer, you're kind of like a tour guide. I could get you there quicker and more efficient if you want it.
Right, if you want it, right, and that's the cool thing too. It's and that's the one thing too. Like, I know you mentioned death a couple of times, and it's something that Stoicism, it's a common theme, memento mori, so remember you will die.
Yeah. And
it's not to be a sad or depressing thing, it's more to be reflect on the fact that you're mortal and you're gonna die, and allow that to shape your decisions.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so like, I have this coin, so there's this author, Ryan Holiday. He wrote a book, The Obstacle Is Away. I also have a necklace of his that just serves as a reminder. But he has this medallion that I also have in my room, and it's just a skull, and it has like some other things, and then it just says memento mori, and then it's just kind of talks about that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, dude.
Remember you're gonna die.
Yeah, and it's such a simple thing, and like, people are like, isn't that depressing? Isn't that this? But it's just like, it turns it into such a beautiful moment. So like earlier I made a post on Instagram where it was just like, I was doing the dishes, my wife was painting, my dog was asleep on the couch. I'm like, fuck, man, like this is beautiful. Like this is a beautiful moment. And I'm just like, I just felt such joy and like happiness and fulfillment, and just, you know, I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm not thinking about like, what's the next travel so people think I'm cool, what's this, what's that. It's just like my dog, my wife, this song, these dishes, this house, this weird life we have, like, and just like being in that
present.
Like, that's all it fucking is. And so like that's what memento mori is. Like that's like remember you will die, because then when you're waiting in line at the grocery store, you're not like on your phone, you're not thinking about what, you're just like looking over the person next to you and you're just like, yeah, cool. Like I wouldn't want to be doing anything else anywhere else with anyone else, you know? And it's like when you can embody that, like that idea of like memento mori, then it's, you know, it becomes a different thing, you know? So and that's one thing too that I love about getting older. You know, people are just like, oh fuck, I'm getting older, this and that. And it's just like, if you can reflect and look back, and like, you know, we talked about you in high school and talked about me in like college, and, you know, talked about these different things and how you change, like look at the growth and the things that you've learned because you've been open to learning them. Yeah. Think about like 5 more years. Yeah. Like, don't think about like, oh, like 30 years, but think about like a year. Yeah. Like 2 years, 5 years. Like, and you just keep curating like rad people, smart people. Like, you start to connect the dots and like, man, fuck, it's unlimited. Like you can do whatever you want, you know? And it's just, you don't know that unless you put yourself out there, you know?
I like that.
Yeah.
I think you're a wise dude.
It's likewise.
It's fun to talk to you. It really is. The last thing that I want to ask you before we get to the ending segment is like the importance and the ability to put down your phone.
Yeah. Yeah. There's this book, Deep Work by Cal Newport. It's really cool. It's dense. It's really fucking dense, but, and as with anything, you can take what serves you and applies to you and then just kind of set the rest to the side. So one of the main thing, and I actually just literally made a post about it. So it's this box.
I saw that. I
stole from my wife, and it's I'll probably give it back to her because she'll probably want to put something in it. But like it fits my phone perfectly. Yeah. And so like if I'm gonna do work, like deep work, where I'm just like gonna write out content, create Instagram posts, like answer email questions from my clients, or, you know, whatever, edit videos, do whatever I need to do, or just write, then I put my phone in airplane mode, put it in there, and then I set a timer. So then the timer goes off. And the funny thing is, people have this idea of like, well, what if someone calls me? Or like, and that's the cool thing about a float tank. Like, no one can reach you. Yeah. You know, and it's like, if the world is on fire, then it's on fire. Like, you know, like, and like to just be like, you know, if someone dies, like that person's dead. Like, if it's not 2 more hours or an hour, then like, you know.
That's how I feel with yoga so much.
Right. Like you're in there. Right. So it's just like, and the funny thing is like the most important people to me is like my wife. Like if I'm working on my computer, I can still get an iMessage pop up, and then she'll like, I can see her text, right? Yeah. Or I can like see that she called me through there. So like I don't need the phone. And like we're so addicted to our phones of just like, and again, getting back to that, create more than you consume. Yeah. If that's out of balance for me, like if it's been 2 days and I realize I've just been scrolling nonstop on the toilet, you know, and I'm like, my legs are asleep, and it's just like, all right, I'm in a state of consumption. I'm out of balance, right? So then I got to create more. I got to share more, you know? So
I love that.
Just checking in with myself. But yeah, I also try and have the approach, and it's not hard anymore. It was when I started, but if I'm with someone, my phone is like face down away, you know, and I'm not looking at it, you know, and just trying to like make eye contact, be with that person, share that space. Yeah. Cause then like the rest of the world goes away, you know, like when you are with someone like that, you know, so, and it's just, your conversations are better, your connection is better. Like it's just better. So I try and do that more and more. And
it's valuable.
Yeah, it's huge. So again, don't beat yourself up for wanting to turn your brain off and scroll through Instagram. Like, do that. Like, I'm not saying like don't do that. Like, go watch shitty TV, go watch reality TV, go watch like whatever your guilty pleasure is.
Go watch Love is Blind.
Love is Blind. We were just talking about that shit. Yeah. Like, Carrie's like, do you want to watch this show? I'm like, kind of not, but kind of yeah. Like, you know, so like do those things because it's fun, but don't beat yourself up. But at the same time,
be conscious of the time and the things that you are doing.
Totally.
You're right. Like I think one of the most beneficial things that you know, me and my wife would work. You know, everyone works 9 hours. We come home, we would make food, and then we would sit on the couch and watch TV. Mm-hmm. You know, we've been actively probably for like maybe the last 6 months. It's like we don't just sit down. We'll sit at the table and we'll just put our phones away and we'll just, you know, have dinner together, just like making eye contact and like speaking with each other, because like we both do like side hustles where we got to be on our phones, and it's like it's easy to lose 2 hours there, like,
or justify it.
Yeah, it's easy to justify it, but like, you know, the most important person in the world is who's sitting in front of me right now. And it's like, I want to be present for her as much as she wants to be present for me. And if anything, it's going to just benefit our life even more. And, you know, all the other shit could wait.
Totally. That's the thing, man. Like that, you know, I've got probably like 30 unanswered DMs, you know, and that could be a question about mobility. It could be a potential client. It could be just like, oh man, I love this post, or, you know, and it's just like, sometimes like that's the biggest thing I struggle with is like, oh, I should be getting to those. And I've got this email and I've got that and I've got this and I should wrap up that. And I just have to like exhale and be like, it's okay. Like, and that was the one thing. So we didn't talk about it much, but we just went on a retreat with the Foot Collective. Mm-hmm. And like I taught some sections of mobility training, but I mostly was just like a student and enjoying it, but you know, part of the TFC crew. And we did a sweat lodge, which I don't know if you know anything about it. Yeah, it was fucking rad, dude. Like we were in this sweat lodge for, it was like an hour.
How hot in there?
It's really hot. So
like above 100?
I don't know. There was no temperature in there, but like it was the hottest thing I've ever experienced. And so basically, I didn't know anything about a sweat lodge until like we started like talking about it and stuff. And so there's this guy that, you know, he's from Costa Rica, he's native, he's got, you know, wife and 2 girls and, you know, just like a normal dude, but he's also like trained in these ancient traditions of like guiding people through this practice. Yeah. And it's really nice to Alejandro. And so it's 4 rounds, and again, like the time of the whole thing is like maybe an hour longer, but like again, I've got no watch, like time gets weird and dilated and stuff, and it's it was interesting. But we were in this hut, there was like 23 of us. You're sitting, you know, in a pair of shorts, shirtless, in the dirt. You're, you know, sitting on your butt, hugging the knees into the chest, and you're just in there. You're just in there.
You're there for that moment.
And then they're like, there's this dude on the outside shoveling these stones in. And so he shoveled 10 like glowing red hot stones that have been on a fire for hours. And these are like the different gods that kind of come in. And then they would close the flap of the tent, and then it's totally dark in there. And then Alejandro would ladle water and create steam, and then bang on a drum and then sing these chants and like doing these different things. And
that's
I was just
wild.
Dude, first round was a total mind fuck because you're just like, I know it's going to be an hour. I know there's going to be 4 rounds. Where you're like, how long are we in here? Like, what is going on? Like, this is, and you're like, this is too hot. I'm going to die. Like, this is like, I'll probably like all these just irrational fears. And it stems from the ego, right? Like, your ego is just trying to protect itself. Right. Yeah. And so when you like get through it, you start to realize like, no, your wedding ring isn't going to melt your hand off. Like, no, your face is fine. Like, no, you're like, and you start to see how mentally strong you are, and like how just like, again, that bond of community, and you're in there you're strong for yourself, but you're strong for the other people too, and vice versa. And it's just like, dude, it was such a powerful experience.
That's awesome.
And the one thing that kind of came out of that, and it was crazy because you're sweating more than you've ever sweated in your life. It's like, imagine like if you got out of a pool and you press up and then the water runs down you, it's like that for an hour straight. Yeah. Like, and you're just like, I didn't know I could sweat that much. And then snot, and then like I cried in there. Like, it was just like all these other things and the one thing that came out was just like, I struggle with expectations, you know, like, from an early on, like I wanted people to like me, you know, as a kid. And so, and I didn't want people to be upset or disagree. And so I didn't deal with confrontation like that. But I started to realize that like expectations were a thing for me. So like the expectations like I think that people have for me and the expectations I place on yourself. And like, as you know, like you tend to be your own worst critic, So for getting back to the whole reason I started sharing that was like, these unanswered DMs, like these emails, like these things that I want to get to, but it's just like time, it just takes time. And if they're really okay with you, then they'll understand,
And if not, be gone.
Right. And it's okay. It's just the natural order of things. Like, you might lose a client or you might get a bad review or you might but it's just like, if you still have the intention of like helping people and like continually trying to get that 1% better, I know I'm going to have systems in place that'll be better. I know I'll have better customer service moving forward. I know I'll update my library more frequently in the future. But in the Sweat Lodge, like I was confronted with that and I was just like, it's all okay.
Yeah, everything's fine.
It's all okay, and it's just like, and that hit me like over the face, like a ton, like so many times. And I was just like, wow, like that was the biggest thing. So that just kind of helped me a lot and helped me with my relationship with social media and being on it. So it's like, when I'm done, I'm done, So like when my wife comes home from work and and she's like, hey, how you doing? Then it's just like, I knew I was going to do this, this, and this, but like, all right, like now we're here. Now we're, doing this. And yeah, like I'll still like, if it's like an important thing, like I'll take care of it. Like, it's not like it's a hard and fast rule, but like for the general things, like I can let it go. It's cool stuff. You should definitely do a Sweat Lodge, man. You would love it.
Yeah. The heat's wild. We went in, I'll get to the ending segment because I feel like we could talk forever, but last thing we did that was like super unique for me, I don't know how I feel about it, was like gong meditation yoga. Mm-hmm. You ever do that on them?
No, but we did a sound healing in Costa Rica. But,
what did that consist of?
This dude, I don't want to derail, but it was this dude who had like bowls and
that's what we
things.
did.
Yeah.
So like there was big ass gongs and there was someone just beating these gongs and like you're laying in this room and there's like, it's a little bit hot, but like, you're not doing any yoga. You're just like laying there like, same thing with like the isolation tank. It's like, or sensory deprivation tank. It's like, I wanted to be able to like be present and I was worried I was going to fall asleep. I just wanted to be able to be present and like, be conscious that I was there. This is where I am at this moment. I want to be able to, give everything I have to this moment and benefit from it. And it was interesting. It was definitely interesting, but I'm down to do a Sweat Lodge.
Yeah, dude. They're both cool. I mean, and the cool thing is like, they're all modalities. They're all modalities to just reflect a little bit more, and like
that's what we need to do. Reflect a little bit more, man. All right. I do an ending segment with all my guests. It's called Desert Island Questions. Desert Island Questions is a segment where I give each guest 3 categories to take with them on a desert island to exhaust until expulsion.
Okay.
So the first category of things to take on a desert island is 3 things to watch. So you could pick movies, TV shows, YouTube channels, whatever.
Oh, this is a good question. It's funny because like I heard you ask Dean this question, and I should have thought about it more.
That's all right. I don't want people to think about it until I ask.
Right. So this is one thing I could bring that I could watch.
3 choices.
3 choices.
Yeah. You could pick three movies if you want.
That's a good question. Well, I do really like the show New Girl. It's one of the kind of shows we come back to a lot, just because it makes me cackle and laugh and like so hard.
Super funny.
Yeah, it's so good. And also, in a lot of ways, like my wife is very similar to Jessica Day, so it's just kind of funny in that way. Other things to watch. I don't know. I mean, I love watching rock climbing videos.
All right.
So I mean, like the first rock climbing documentary I saw was Valley Uprising. So it's just kind of like kind of going over the genesis of rock climbing and how it came up through the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s.
Pretty wild.
And how it morphed. Like, yeah, people would just like climb with like seat belts as their harness. Like,
insane.
Yeah, I know. And so I think that like, it's funny because I think Carrie was traveling one time and then she's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm just watching, Valley Uprising. And she's like, haven't you seen that like 6 or 7 times?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but it just gets me really hyped up.
It's sick.
Yeah. So I'd probably say that. And one more. Shit, 3. Oh man, I don't know. I'm blanking. I don't know.
You got to pick one.
I gotta pick one. Okay, I gotta pick one.
I've never let anyone only pick one or two.
Don't let me go. The Office is good too.
The Office?
Yeah.
That's a good answer. You got a lot of episodes to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Second category is 3 things to read.
3 things to read. I'd probably say Katie Bowman's book, Move Your DNA, because you just read it so many times and you just pick up, like, she talks about movement in such a cool way into like this micro level, into like the macro level, even to the point where she's like, you know, you talk about movement and you think of like gross motor movement, that's like moving your body through space, but just like how your environment shapes everything. So like your vision, she'll talk about like when you're in an environment that is modern day age, so like a cubicle, like, you know, lights, this and that, like you're in this environment and you're not in nature as much. So you're only ever looking the distance from your eyes to your phone, or to your eyes to your screen, or to your eyes to the wall. Your eyes can see so much further. So when you're put in this environment, and it's just like shoes, if you're put in this environment where your feet can't move and articulate its 33 joints in each foot, then they're just going to get stiff and rigid. Same thing with like your eyes. And that's why like your eyes like kind of degenerate, because you're not looking at the sunset. You're not looking at the tree and then looking at your phone and then looking at the like you don't have these like your pupils and the lenses aren't like, you know, changing as much as they should be. So like
that's really interesting to think about.
Katie Bowman's like a fucking nerd and she's amazing. So I'd say Move Your DNA. Probably The Obstacles Away by Ryan Holiday. And if I'm thinking of like a longer book, I'd say like I really love Writing by Jack Kerouac.
Oh, okay.
He's like the beatnik.
Yeah.
Stream of consciousness kind of writing.
I'll give you all of them.
Yeah. So like just like an anthology of his work. So.
All right, those are good answers. All right, 3 things to listen to on a desert island.
Tosh Sultana. Have you ever heard of her?
No.
Okay. She's amazing.
What is it?
So she's an artist from Australia.
Okay.
She's incredible. She kind of does like all, like, she plays guitar, piano, has a voice of just like an angel.
Oh, okay.
And she's a total badass. And so her music is very, you just kind of have to listen to it. I think you'll be able to appreciate.
Sultana.
Yeah. Tash Sultana. And she's got a lot of good work. So yeah, her. Who else would I listen to? Oh man, this is tough.
It is tough. That's why I ask him.
Tough questions. Oh man, I don't know. I can only just think of stuff that makes me happy. So like, when I used to take naps, like when I would just like live by myself, and if it was like a rainy day, and I was like, I'm gonna take a nap, like Norah Jones.
Oh, just so good.
I just love her. Just like I would put it on and just like.
Oh, I love her voice.
Yeah, it's just like overcast and raining.
Really is great.
Yeah, it's just awesome. So probably say her, and then. Oh man, this is tough. I feel like I can't like hold myself to it, but like I'd probably say Iron Maiden just because they have like a huge anthology.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Yeah, and I love them. I've seen them like 3 times live.
That's a good answer.
Solid. Yeah.
All right. So the third to last question that I ask is a death row meal. So you get to eat whatever you want from wherever you want, as much as you want.
Oh fuck, that's awesome. Something with avocado. I love avocado.
It's good stuff.
So. I wouldn't say sushi because that'd be fucked up. You can only eat sushi. Oh man, I'd probably say, yeah, some kind of Mexican food with avocado. So like maybe a taco.
Yeah, that's a
or
good
burrito.
answer.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a good answer though.
Yeah.
You know, I'll allow it. That's a good one.
I'll allow it.
Okay. And the second to last segment that I do is a segment called the Turner's Crate. So,
hell yeah, nice.
Turner's Tea sponsors my podcast. All right, Turner's Tea is a pivotal staple in the city of Pittsburgh, and the Turner's Crate is a crate that I have gotten each past guest to submit a question to that they would want to ask someone. So I want you to reach in the Turner's Crate, and I want you to pick a question and read it for me and answer it to the best of your abilities, please.
Sounds good. I'm gonna pick my favorite color, this like mint green here. All right. This is fitting. What do you think happens when you die? Oh, Dean Bogg wrote this, man.
Wow, look at that.
Dean. I'll be talking on Monday. So that's really interesting because, my idea of this keeps changing.
It does. Mine's changed a lot.
Yeah. I don't think there's a heaven or a hell at this point in my life. But I think... Oh, hi, Cecil. You want to be on the podcast? You want to sniff?
This is the second week in a row that we had a dog guest.
Yeah, he's part human, so
he looks like a human. So cute.
So let me stop stalling. With that, I think that I kind of feel that you've lived multiple iterations. I kind of feel as long as it's taken you to get to this point of your understanding of what reality is and what consciousness is, I feel like each iteration or each life you live, you kind of learn a little bit more, and then whenever you die and this meat suit decays, then that is somehow brought back in without like awareness of like what it is, and then you just have to try and get further and try and get further and try and get further, not necessarily to a point of like enlightenment, but just to like a state of like what you understand as like what all this is, with the essence of like reality and consciousness and like all this other thing. But like I don't think it ever stops. Maybe it just doesn't ever stop. Like I think that we're all maybe just this one consciousness kind of expressing itself in different ways. Yeah. Kind of like there's this one quote where you're not a drop in the ocean, you're an ocean in the drop. And that's kind of like what I have my one tattoo as is, kind of reminds me of, is that you're just this one iteration, this one expression of a wave that is an identifiable thing, and then it crashes back to the source, the ocean, and then another wave comes up, and it just keeps crashing, keep going, and they're always different. Like each wave, like this wave was gnarly to surf on, this one like came up too quick, and it's all going to be different, and the other wave doesn't remember what the other wave was, but it just keeps going. So
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably think of something 5 years later that is different, but
that's all right. Yeah. It's good in this moment, though.
Thanks, Dean. That was beautiful.
Yeah, it's a good question. Very fitting. All right. So the last question that I ask everyone on the podcast: if you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Ooh, good question. I'd say Alan Watts.
Alan Watts.
Yeah, he's not necessarily like a Buddhist philosopher, but he talks about those kinds of philosophies and ideas. He's got a lot. If you've never heard of Alan Watts, he does a lot of talks from like the 60s and 70s. He died like a little early. I think he probably died from something like cancer or something like that, but before his time. And he has a lot of recorded audio on like YouTube. People are uploading it, and so like just YouTube Alan Watts and listen to a couple of his talks, and it's just spot on. It's really good, and so I would just love to chat with him and laugh with him, and not necessarily find answers, but just to like, I feel like I've always really felt like a strong pull and jive with him, and if I could just like share a couple of riffs with him and
that would be awesome.
A cup of coffee and laugh about like what this all is, then that would be pretty fun.
Wow, you're a very interesting person.
I just
This
It's just been fun.
This is a good podcast. I didn't know what to expect, but I was happy.
We
with
talked a little bit about feet, you know.
Yeah, we touched on feet a little bit. All right, so take a second and promote anything you want to promote, social media, where everyone can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at clayton.moves. I'll answer all your DMs in good time. So feel free to DM me if you have questions on mobility training, social media stuff, how to use Instagram, how to start online programs, how to better learn how to communicate with video, creating your ideas, whatever it is, we can have a conversation about it. So I do coaching sessions. Again, like I said, I normally work with like Pilates, yoga teachers, personal trainers, physical therapists, occupational therapists, massage therapists, like normally in that health and fitness space. But, I've worked with Dean, who's a filmmaker. I've worked with, musicians. So if I think I can help you, then we'll have a conversation about it. And I'm open to helping anyone kind of reach the direction that they want to go to. And my website is in the link, on Instagram. So like basically that's like the hub where you can kind of go from wherever.
Yeah.
I have online mobility training options, mobility membership, OKMS, which stands for Online Kinstretch Mobility Studio. So that's a bigger program than the mobility membership, but the mobility membership is a great way to kind of dip your toe in the water and kind of learn what it's about. If you're in Pittsburgh, I teach 2 local classes each week at Ascend Pittsburgh. It's a climbing gym in the South Side. So I teach currently Wednesdays 7:30, Sundays at 4 o'clock. So feel free to pop in. Ascend is a rad community. I mean, it's just like the coolest people you'll meet and the nicest people you meet because it's Pittsburgh and people are stupidly nice, but especially the climbing community. So even if you don't rock climb, they have, I think, like 15 yoga teachers there as well. So I teach my mobility training out of the yoga studio.
Yeah.
But there's amazing yoga teachers there. So if you're into restorative or vinyasa or yin or like whatever you want, like we have it, which is really cool.
I'm going to have to check it out down there.
Yeah, man. Feel free. I'll get you a guest pass and we can go and,
That's dope.
It's good stuff. Yep. So just always feel free to say hi. If you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate. I'm just a normal dude.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, dude. I really do. I think it's super cool what you do. Like it's interesting. I like unique people. I feel like you're very unique, authentic though. I think that it's cool though. I could see. I see the results through people that I'm close with. So like, it's cool to see that. And it's cool to see the impact that you had on someone who's close to me as Rob.
Yeah.
But everyone else that's listening, man, I appreciate it as usual. I'll call you right back across the board. I'll call you right back at gmail.com. Let me know if there's someone you'd like me to speak with. I'd love to get some recommendations, and there's no shortage of good people coming up this week, or not this week, but every week from here on out. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you like, what you dislike. Call me a piece of shit if you want. But if you could, scroll down, hit subscribe, and leave me a rate and review if you'd like. If you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it. And, I appreciate everyone listening. Call you right back.